Oh my gosh, there's so much going on right now. I just can't even handle it. Hi, welcome to the show. It's Friday afternoon. Good to see you. Happy weekend eve, I suppose. So much, so far to go. There's so much craziness. So a couple of things. Obviously, big news in the House Sparks Mega Worldwide world. Where worldwide world? Sure, why not? It's a name. It's a noun and a name. Um, the Hunter Biden story will be I have no doubt blossoming. It will be blossoming over the next couple of months, maybe a month and a half or whatever, because he's suing John Paul McIsaac and Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon, and there'll be a lot of discovery, and I'm sure there will be a huge movement to have them have their testimony be made public, which is just going to be fantastic. And then when John Paul McIsaac has to testify that he couldn't pick out Hunter Biden in a lineup, and they have to compare the signatures, and the fact that the laptop that ended up there was not dropped off by him is going to be super fun. And everybody's buying into the thing. They're all buying into it. Like, he admits it was real. No, he doesn't. Read very carefully what you're seeing there. And it's interesting to me that a lot of the stuff that's coming up around it, even the people who are the biggest touters of it are suddenly using curious language, like we saw this morning, where they were like, they're referring to the repairman as the guy who found Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop now. That people have said that. Now, that's a weird word choice. That's odd. And it's not something that these guys would usually say. I'm just very excited. I can't tell you. And then, of course, well, let's just get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jimmy Dore and his good buddy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is looking very rosy. He's been making the rounds lately. Robert F. Kennedy made his bones as an environmentalist, was very positive in that, movement for years. And then at some point, he made a hard left turn into chasing down mercury in vaccines. Not a bad thing to do if it's a real problem and to go after. Since that time, though, the vast majority of situations where that exists or where it did exist, have ceased to be. They have moved on from mercury-based preservatives in vaccines that they may have done years ago. That said, he's just decided in general that vaccination itself is a problem. He doesn't trust anything that's in it anymore, period, end of story. And that's that. And we saw, if you were here this morning, you might have seen the description of what he says in this, but you might not have heard the audio unless you went and watched this video. And I have to say, let's take a listen to the claims that he is making in this situation.
Pentagon was very...
Hold on. Oops, I got to switch this over. Beg your pardon. One moment so that I can hear it normally and it doesn't loop back into this. Here we go. So this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Jimmy Dore's show as a guest. He's been on a bunch of shows lately. He always sits in front of the same bookcase for these things, and he's in the same outfit of like 5 other interviews because he did them all in one day. But here he goes.
Worried about actually launching a full-blown bioweapons arms race because they said nobody, this is very sketchy. The Patriot Act, exemptions are very sketchy and people don't even know about it. And so they didn't want to do it. So they took the money that Cheney gave them, $2.2 billion, and they funneled it through NIH. And it all went through Anthony Fauci.
Okay. So in case you're late to catching up, or he has a vocal cord paralysis issue, which makes his voice sound like that. And so he can be sometimes hard to understand. But his assertion here is that Dick Cheney was afraid of being found out as a violent neocon who plans to use the Patriot Act to control the United States or what have you, and decided that he was going to shuffle some money Anthony Fauci's way to make bioweapons, and he got him $2.2 billion through the Patriot Act because Cheney couldn't wait to take the funds away from Halliburton and give them to Anthony, to give them to the National Institute for health in the, oh God.
Beginning in 2002, Anthony Fauci got a 68% raise from the Pentagon for doing bioweapons development.
Wow.
And by the way, you can hear in the background, Jimmy's just looking at the ceiling. He couldn't be happier to find out these details. Like they don't even have to be true or checked out. Like this is Jimmy's big dream, that he is now finding out from Robert F. Kennedy that Anthony Fauci was paid by Cheney $2.2 billion and got a 68% raise in his salary to develop bioweapons, to not the cures for them, not to work on them, not to make sure that if China or Russia or Iran or a rogue state or Al Qaeda ever tries to draft one, that we have a vaccine for them. No. To actually make bio weapons. Yeah, that's the assertion here. Not that, to like accidentally make it. None of that. And keep in mind, here, let's continue and then
And he got a raise of billions of dollars a year.
So Anthony Fauci makes billions of dollars a year.
To do it. And then he started that's when they started doing all this gain of function. And then in 2014.
That's when he started doing all this gain of function stuff. This is when he got billions of dollars from Dick Cheney to make biological weapons. All right, this is the guy who was fighting AIDS and who's been the head of the CDC and whatnot. Yeah, that guy just decided, you know what? It's time to make super anthrax. Whoops, hold on. Let me click on this. Oh, crap. Hold on.
And so they didn't want to do it. So they took the money that Cheney gave them, $2.2 billion, and they funneled it through NIH. And it all went through Anthony Fauci. So beginning in 2002, Anthony Fauci got a 68% raise from the Pentagon for doing bioweapons development.
Wow.
And
which is, by the way, illegal, in violation of every treaty we're a part of. But that's Cheney.
Got a raise of billions of dollars a year to do it.
Look at Jimmy. Look how happy he is to find this out. Do you think he's going to be disappointed when he finds out this is largely horseshit and a juggling of numbers? Oh no, he's not. Wait, it gets better.
And then he started that's when they started doing all this gain of function. And then in 2014, 3 of those bugs escaped in high profile escapes.
Okay, 3 of those bugs escaped in high profile escapes. Do you hear what he just said? 3 of these gain of function bugs. He started doing this gain of function because Dick Cheney was paying him to make bioweapons, and 3 of those bugs escaped in very high profile. This is a very high profile escapes. 3 of them. All right, here we go. Whoops, sorry. God damn it. Why is this? Oh, because it won't play on that thing. Hold on.
From different labs in the United States. Fauci.
From different labs in the United States. 3 of these bugs, meaning viruses that Fauci upped by gain of function. Okay.
Built all these new labs at BU at Galveston to do his shenanigans. And so 3 of the bugs escaped. And
3 of the bugs escaped. 3 of the gain of function bugs.
They received publicity. They had smallpox and a lot of really bad things. And then
they received publicity, smallpox, and a lot of really bad things. So one of them smallpox, and then the other 2 are other superbugs. Right.
Congress held hearings on it. Everybody was angry. These bugs escaped, and 300 scientists, top scientists, sent letters to Obama saying, you got to shut down Anthony Fauci because he's going to create a pandemic.
Okay, 300 scientists. Hold on. Send Obama letter Fauci. Pentagon in charge by the 3 days ago. Pentagon bioweapon in charge of anti-Fauci could have discourse. Founded the creation of COVID, speaking of Tony Fauci, claimed by Tucker Carlson. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I see people referencing this. Yeah. Fauci says everyone's going to come. No, this does not show a visiting constitutionalist. Nope. Accuses Fauci of developing bioweapons. This is on trending politics. This is I don't know where the source on this one is sketched. This is from Trending Politics News, yet another AI newsletter. Kennedy suggests the Pentagon was concerned about the potential consequences of launching a full-blown bioweapons arms race, in part because of the sketchy nature of the Patriot Act exemptions. The exemptions under the Patriot Act allowed for research and development of biological weapons for defensive purposes, but this provision, and by the way, that's the gain of function to find a cure for them, not to use them. But this provision may be open to interpretation misuse, leading to potential concerns about bioweapon proliferation. He continued, Fauci built all these new labs at BU at Galveston to do his shenanigans, and so 3 of these bugs escaped. This is the quote from him. This is actually from this interview now. Publicity, they made smallpox and a lot of really bad things, and then Congress held hearings on it. Everybody was angry. These bugs escaped, and 300 scientists, top scientists, sent letters to Obama saying you're going to shut down Anthony Fauci because he's going to create a pandemic. Kenny tells Jimmy Dore he's been alleged, Okay, I don't remember a 300 scientists writing letters to Obama about Anthony Fauci starting a pandemic, but apparently it was very high profile and not high profile at all.
And so Obama ordered a moratorium. And at that time, Fauci had 18 different gain of function experiments he was doing around the United States.
Yeah. So you'll recall, hold on one second. I believe we have it. It should be is it in the Discord? Let's see. Hold on one second. We have the little moment. I know where it is. It's in my Notion. Hold on one second. I got to bring something up. Get out of here. Boink. Move this over here. So one of the big, stories about, gain of function was that Obama in this particular situation, shut it down, and Trump started it up again. Let's go to this guy right here, and then we'll go to, yeah, here we go. If I may, ladies and gentlemen, this little moment, if you'll recall.
Why did you allow the gain of function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at
function. That was administration did hit.
This didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain of function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain of function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it and at...
Oh, you mean the best people?
One point they might have done that, but ultimately what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped making payments that were approved much earlier than our administration.
Yes, security payments to make sure that pathogens don't get out of the Wuhan lab. But anyway, so here's Robert Kennedy, by the way, telling Jimmy Dore that the Obama administration stopped gain of function research, that Fauci, apparently the idea is that Fauci did this under the table or behind their back, through Peter Daszak and EcoHealth Alliance and that crowd. And I don't know if we'll see if he mentions Trump turning it back on.
But Obama ordered him to shut them all down, but he didn't.
Huh. Now, I don't know why he doesn't cut to Jimmy. Why Jimmy doesn't show himself in that situation, grinning or looking at the ceiling during the part where Obama shut it down.
He instead moved his stuff offshore to Wuhan, where he could do it out of sight of these 300 scientists and nosy White House officials who were trying to shut him down. And they continued to do it with Ralph Barrick, the same people he was funding here, Ralph Barrick, wow, and Peter Day.
And somebody else saying, wow.
And they moved their operations to the Wuhan lab.
Okay, so Jimmy cuts off his own response to that in this clip, or it's cut off on there. So this is I guess because it's really hard to go after Obama in this situation and do his like both pair of pants business. The next target is obviously Bill Gates
of the WHO. After China goes China, Bill Gates, then like Germany, then like countries fund the WHO.
No, Bill Gates gives more than China.
Okay,
but the U.S. was the biggest funder, and they may now be the biggest funder from a single tranche. But Gates is giving not only from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but he gives through Gavi and I think CEPI and UNICEF and Rotary. And if you add all those up,
and Rotary,
he's by far the biggest. He's $1 billion a year.
and so now this is his new idea going forward. After this big experiment failed, and he admits those vaccines, he says those vaccines need to be fixed.
Is that what he says? They need to be fixed, do they? Is that a direct quote? Whatever. We're just paraphrasing.
Here's what he's saying now.
Make it, instead of 2 years, we should make it more like 6 months, which certainly, some of the standardized platform approaches, including mRNA, would allow us to do that. So, it took us a lot longer this time than it should have.
So now he wants to get a new vaccine the next time something like this happens. He wants to get it out even faster.
Right. I don't know why anybody would want to shorten the distance between a functional vaccine and an outbreak. Do you? Patricia, thank you so much for the super chat. A birthday gift from me to you in celebration of my 62nd trip around the sun. Well, I'm glad you're here. And I hope I'm making these years mildly tolerable for you, at least, be a bit of a cushion. So the big crime here, there's so much of this shit, and it drives me a bit crazy. There's so much of this stuff that it requires or even expects that in your brain, when he says something like, we want to be able to do this in 6 months, part of your brain has to go dun dun dun. You know what I mean? Like there has to be, it's like anytime the CIA is mentioned, you've got to go dun dun dun. They're behind the scenes. All of it has to trigger this I fucking knew it reflex in your head, regardless of the details of the circumstance or if it's just logical thought. Look, anybody working on vaccines wants safe and effective vaccines to any disease outbreak to happen quicker and better and be improved upon. And anybody who doesn't, I would guess that would be the dun 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 part. Like, we don't need why do they keep trying to cure cancer? Dun dun dun. The people who are behind cancer are the people who know someone who's had cancer. Brum, brum, so fucking stupid.
Would you have a response to that?
Do you have a response to that? Yes. Why? Yes. Well, if someone was making a vaccine and they were trying to save lives, they would obviously want it to be, achieve efficacy and safety sooner than 2 years, especially in a global pandemic outbreak that's spreading like wildfire.
Well, here's the very scary thing, Jimmy, is that.
Thank you. The very scary thing. Yeah, skip past all the details. Get right to the very scary thing.
They've got all of these biolabs now, and they're Gates and others are involved with this project called the Global Virome Project, where they're
dun dun dun. The Global Virome Project.
They're trying to collect samples of every virus in the world that can be weaponized. And Peter Daszak was part of it, the USAID, and
all the USAID. All the people who are trying to depopulate the earth.
An archive and an inventory. And then they're all working on, in 150 biolabs around the world, 40 of them in the Ukraine and in China and all over Africa. They're working on Marburg virus, Ebola, Zika, monkeypox, polio, all of these different viruses that they're trying to weaponize. Or
that other people might try to weaponize, and you probably would want some sort of a treatment and or a vaccine for. Why think ahead?
You know, and now they're giving the World Health Organization, this is what Biden is doing, power to declare a pandemic emergency with no criteria anytime they want.
Yeah.
And so they can.
Wait, so who's saying yap in the background? Says it. It's got to be the miserable liberal in Jimmy's studio. But okay, hold on. The idea, Biden, WHO authority to declare whatever. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I felt like this one was kind of a softball. Fact check. False claim about Biden, WHO, and U.S. sovereignty. Claim President Biden is giving the World Health Organization control over U.S. healthcare and national sovereignty, meaning that's what he's saying, that they could declare a pandemic and then we just follow along. Terrifying, says the Facebook post. The Biden administration is setting the stage to hand ultimate control of America's healthcare system and the U.S. national sovereignty over to the World Health Organization, reads a Facebook post. The post claims that the assembly will be voting on proposed amendments the Biden administration sent in January that would allow the organization to declare an international health emergency, nullifying the powers of nation states. The post generated over 250 shares in less than a day. Similar posts have amassed hundreds of interactions on Facebook and Instagram, but the claim is false. The amendments referred to in the Facebook post are intended to strengthen a country's reporting measures on public health events. Experts told USA Today they would not grant the WHO any authority in the U.S. USA Today reached out to social media users who shared the claim for comment. Amendments will not give the WHO authority in the U.S. Drafted amendments in January to the International Health Regulations, a legally binding agreement between 196 countries to detect and report public health events. According to the Centers for Disease Control. We remember this. This is when, because you got to let people know that they want everybody to be legally responsible for letting any other countries know that there's an outbreak in your country. The agreement does not allow the WHO to dictate healthcare policy or create binding law in the United States or any nation, according to Lawrence Gostin, director of Georgetown University's WHO Collaborating Center on National and Global Health. The proposed amendments to the agreement won't change that. The amendments will essentially modify the procedures and speed up the process by which countries report health events. I mean, never mind the fact that this asshole is trying to convince us that Dick Cheney took $2 billion that could have gone to Halliburton and gave it to the National Institute for Health and went, fill your boots, do your worst, knock yourself out. But now he wants us to believe that Joe Biden is signing over the sovereignty of the United States to the WHO.
Constantly, they could, if they wanted to, they can release.
If they wanted to, they could blah, blah, blah. Let's
stop you from mutating. It was the exact.
Hold on. Let's go back. This is the mRNA. Hold on one second.
And if you got vaccinated, that would stop you from mutating. It was the exact opposite. Now, I knew that.
Nothing will stop you from mutating, Jimmy.
And nobody else, none of my friends in Hollywood, nobody in comedy, nobody knew that.
By the way, Jimmy doesn't have any friends in Hollywood or in comedy.
That except me, and they thought I was crazy, and now they still think that, by the way. They still think that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
They still think I'm crazy. Yes, they do, because you think it was an intentional bioweapon by Bill Gates and the WHO and Dr. Fauci.
I don't have anything to add. It was all about, blaming the vaccinated. It was about, the unvaccinated, and making sure everybody got covered, that you were intimidated into it, you were gaslighted, you were embarrassed, you were marginalized, you were
often on a ventilator,
vilified, and then
why, and all these terrible things. You were gaslit and vilified. People were rude to you, which on the back end, compared to dying of a disease you could prevent or killing a member of your family or your community that was preventable is a little. I'm just saying, is if you're weighing those against each other.
It was, the pitchforks and torches. They were trying to get everybody else to put pressure on.
And if you got
it was pitchforks and torches. They were trying to get everybody else to go after you. Yep, that's the. Yeah, this is the same shit. They took the money that Cheney gave them. I have the receipt for the $1 million donation by Pfizer, but it's December. When did Robert Kennedy meet with Trump? Huh? Donation accepted. What's the huge number? Pfizer. What is that? $10 million? You got there. Yeah, okay. Somebody's I'm going with somebody who's just fucking with them. Yeah, and here it is in Italian. And by the way, we were warned earlier today. Jimmy Dore and Robert Kennedy Jr. discussed, but a video proves Joe Rogan was right about Bill Gates. Oh boy.
I wanted to show you this. Joe Rogan said this most recently about.
I mean, which is essentially, fuck you, Wikipedia. Joe speaks.
Bill Gates and his investments in vaccines, and I think it's really good. Here we go.
Yeah. And Russell, oh look, it's a trifecta. It's shocking. You're kidding me. Joe Rogan had Russell on, and Jimmy likes it. Jimmy, you do realize that when Russell was on your show, he was just snagging audience, right?
Profited millions of dollars on the vaccines. Millions and millions of dollars. It's all easy to find. And then once
post it.
He dumped the stock, then he completely changed his narrative and he started talking about how ineffective the vaccines were and about how the virus wasn't as bad as we thought it was and about it was mostly targeting old and obese people. Like, this is fucking wild, because this is the same guy that through the entire pandemic was talking about how great these vaccines are and these vaccines are so effective and they stop the virus.
Okay, so this is where Jimmy is, he's leaning closer to the camera. Maybe it's just because Joe is a hunk of burning love. This is where Jimmy got that whole thing about Gates wants them fixed now, or whatever.
They stop transmission, they stop infection, and all that was a lie. And he profited off those lies. Yes. And everyone wants to pretend that he's just like this amazing philanthropist. Like, no, he made a lot of money. This is motivated by money, and his entire career he's been motivated by money.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a guy who is really good at monopoly, and that was why they went after Microsoft so many times for monopolistic practices. I mean, he's a businessman. And in that time, his business was the business of telling people things that he's not educated in, right? He's not a scientist. He's not a
somebody put this together, by the way, of
virologist.
Jimmy isn't either, but Jimmy was right. And his friends in comedy and Hollywood still think he's nuts.
He's not a medical doctor.
He's not.
Unlike Joe Rogan.
Not even a college graduate.
He was.
Jesus Christ. You can't dunk on him for not being a college graduate when he's the fourth richest human being on the planet.
Is this public health advocate on television telling everybody to go out and get this medical intervention that he would profit from, which is.
By the way, did anybody in the chat room get inoculated because Bill Gates said it was a good idea? Anybody that I've gotten vaccinated, everybody in my household has. Did anybody do it because they heard Bill Gates say it?
It's fucking wild. It's really wild that it's that transparent.
It's wild, kiddo. It's wild. I mean, we're living in crazy town. He's not even a doctor. He owns stock in these companies because he owns stock in every company, and then he sold the stock because it was going down because that's what rich people do. It's wild.
It's not like multiple steps in shell corporations. It's really difficult to find out where the money's going. It's like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy how transparent it is. You're not even hiding it. It's
right, because he's not doing anything nefarious. He's just a rich dude who buys and sells stock. And he actually did believe it at the time, and then he changed his mind if he did at all, which is, I'm not going on what he or Jimmy says.
Right there.
Hold on. Shall we check real quick? Bill Gates on vaccines, whatever. Rather pay for vaccine than travel to Mars. How Bill Gates took over the global COVID thing. Bill Gates vaccines are a miracle. It's mind-blowing. That's fact check. Bill Gates did not say he wanted to vaccinate animals to give them better genetics. No country had perfect COVID pandemic response. This is the thing I can. This is the most recent thing, I think. Bill Gates says no country gets an A for its COVID pandemic response, including the United States. I wouldn't say any country got it totally right. Nobody gets an A on this one. The Microsoft co-founder and health care philanthropist has both praised and criticized multiple world governments' response. Argued the U.S. did not act fast enough to take extreme quarantining measures like shutting down businesses and stay-at-home orders. The U.S. has proceeded to log a higher rate of COVID deaths per capita than any of the world's wealthiest nations since the start of the pandemic. In the future, countries need to have dedicated personnel, and they need to practice how they connect up with the PCR diagnostic industry. Gates published a book last year, How to Prevent the Next Pandemic, just to scare everybody. Dun, dun, dun. Some COVID responses better than others. Australia and about 7 other countries, we did not public name, noting that Australia's rate of COVID deaths per capita is still among the lowest in the world. It's currently at just 21% of the U.S.'s coronavirus death rate. The U.S. received high marks from Gates in one category, spending more than $30 billion to fund research and development of coronavirus vaccines. The U.S. gave that money to companies in multiple countries. Gates' advocacy for strong pandemic preparation isn't new. 2015 TED Talk, he warned about infectious diseases, pandemic preparation, blah, 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 blah. Epidemics, like he and his, and the other page on this, if I may, he can't stand, he thinks vaccines are wrong. Here we go. When is this? Well, this is from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Is there no date on this guy? Yeah, I guess not. Okay. But this says, the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates pledged $10 billion and call for a decade of vaccines. Yep, they totally think they don't work. Today, our foundation will commit $10 billion over the next 10 years to help research, develop, and deliver vaccines in the world's poorest countries. We must make this the decade of vaccines. Vaccines already save and improve millions of lives in developed countries. Yada, 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 yada. Here we go.
And just to back up what Joe said, here is Bill Gates about a year ago, and he started to
a year ago
admit about the virus, what we all knew, and here it is.
And then at that point, we didn't really understand the fatality rate. We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu is, although a bit different than that.
So there he was admitting that the virus wasn't as deadly and as scary as everybody he made it out to be, so he could mandate vaccines that he's invested in. It was.
All right. Again, Gates didn't mandate any vaccines. And at that point, all right, never mind.
It turns out it was like the flu. Like it's just a really elderly.
Yeah, it was just like the flu. It was exactly like the flu. The flu kills nearly 1 million Americans every year and has killed 3,000 a week all year long.
People and people who are obese and comorbidities need to worry about it. So probably.
Yeah, and God knows there aren't people in the United States that are older or obese or both.
We shouldn't be injecting kids with that and healthy young people and giving them all kinds of things. And so here he is now.
Giving them all kinds of things.
Oh, after he cashed in his stock, this is what he says now after he cashed in his stock.
We also need to fix the 3 problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection. And they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And every one of those things is...
So that's what he's saying now after the...
And he's invested in precisely that thing. That's the whole point. He wants to ratchet up how well these work. Come on.
If I would have said that stuff, they would have taken my YouTube channel down. But now Bill Gates, the guru of vaccines, gets to say it because he already cashed out his money. He got $500 million. Go ahead.
Well, every one of those 3 things he said would get you deplatformed.
That's right.
or I said them, which, they did. And we were saying that from day one. We knew it wasn't going to. I said in.
Ooh, from day one. Okay, first of all, the idea, if I may, that flu deaths and COVID deaths in the last 3 years are somehow comparable as far as volume. The Delta variant period alone took out more people than die of flu in that year in 2021 than the highest peak of flu we've had. So the idea that this is, it's like the flu. It's the fucking flu. It's the flu. It's not a big deal. Is hilarious garbage and an act of cruelty.
In May of 2020, I said these vaccines are DOA because in the monkey trials, the monkeys that were vaccinated had the same amount of COVID in their nasal pharynx once they were exposed to coronavirus as the vaccinated monkeys and unvaccinated monkeys had the same amount. So there's no.
Right. They had the same volume in their nasal passages when you squirted it up their nose, but it did not infect them and their bodies did not overreact and they didn't have the glassification of their lungs and they didn't end up on a ventilator. And that's the point. And the reason the torches were out for the unvaccinated was not because people gave a fuck if you died because you were unvaccinated. And even to some degree, after a while, realizing that in the case of the mRNAs, it did not stop the spread of it per se, but that you would take up a hospital bed that you didn't need to take up because you just thought it was a bunch of bullshit. Oh, anyway, so where were we? We're back in. I have these other. Oh, they're over here. Nope. Where are they? Back to this guy. Was it? Yeah. Yeah. So hold on one second. Let me get back over to where we were. And by the way, hi chat room. Hi guys. The flu hasn't killed, 1 million people in the last year. Worldwide. Oh, hey, Johnny Million. What's happening? Hi, everybody. Yeah, hit that like button because we're talking about this. Yeah. Yes, hospital workers went through hell, but it was just the flu, guys. It was just like the flu. Why is his face so red? He's embarrassed. He has to be on Jimmy's show to spout his nonsense. I can't tell you. Maybe he's just peaked from running up a flight of stairs. It's hard to say. Yeah, hospitals do not get overrun by the flu. It's there has never been, and so far as I know, and maybe they know, maybe Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can tell us, or Jimmy Dore can tell us about a flu season where nurses were exhausted from having to prone patients so they wouldn't drown in their own fluids. 50 chemo patients die because 100 unvaccinated people took all the ICU beds. Precisely. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, we had freezer truck morgues. Exactly. Just like the flu. It's like the flu. That's how the flu works, guys. That's how we, hold on one second. Let me go back to here. Where was I? Fact checking in here. Oh, that's right. Because we started here. So this was the beginning of this nonsense. So anyways, we'll jump around to that later on, but I want to jump to the other videos I had prepared. And you're watching Housebox Megaworldwide, and I think that shows taste and breeding on your part. It's frustrating and it's fun. Now, this one I have a connection to, much like when we do a story about China, or any of the other things. Let's see. I don't move this guy around. This one I have a connection to, and I apparently it's snowflake time. Marianne was on Fox. Shocker. And apparently she didn't like the fact that Karine Jean-Pierre made fun of her candidacy, like everyone else is. And it's something about how she's a woman and she's black and she's gay, and so she should know better than to question a woman's ascension to the highest office in the land because we're all part of the great sisterhood or something.
All right, it's a startling number. You think about it. Among Democrats, only 37% think Joe Biden should run again for election. They're looking, that is, almost 2 out of 3, for somebody else, not him. Marianne
Yeah, I'm in the 37%.
Williamson wants to be that somebody else. She's back in the race to challenge Joe Biden. Back when she ran in the last contest, it was a crowded field. Only the two of them right now as things stand. We assume the president's going to run for re-election. Marianne Williamson, kind enough to join us now. Ms. Williamson, good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why?
Thank you. If I do say so. This is, I just have to say, the TV accent when it comes on is rather profound.
Why are you doing this?
I'm doing this because I think there are some things we need to talk about in this country and we need to change. People need health care. People need a way to get educated, to send their kids to college.
A way or a different way? More ways? There are a lot of ways. Which ones do you like and which ones are you going to swap out?
People need a living wage. We need to save the environment for our grandchildren. Things that, you know.
Well, I would like to breathe fresh air if I don't mind. I mean, my kid would too. I don't want to have to wait for fresh air till my grandkids show up. I'm fucking around.
Represent, among other things, a healthy middle class, which we had in this country in the 1970s. These things need to be put on the table, and they need to represent the kind of economic U-turn that this country needs. And that
the economic U-turn. See the way things are going right now? We need to be going the other way. The way Joe Biden is going away from what Donald Trump was doing, we need to U-turn to go right.
I would effectuate as president.
I know Bernie Sanders is impressed with you. He says you should give it a good shot. We've heard very little from anyone else. In fact, nothing. It's almost like crickets from everyone else in your party, even the progressive wing that...
I've said a few things, and I know her personally. That's hardly fair.
Supposedly you would appeal to, certainly more than the president. What do you say?
Well, you know, there's this decision made. It's we will not primary Biden. And so everybody who's thinking only about their own career, they're just standing in line and waiting because that's the decision made from on high. I believe in democracy. I believe in elections. I believe in anyone.
Yes, and you're going to believe in it even more because it's not going to work out. It's not happening. Will not at all.
One who feels moved to run for president, putting their ideas out there, submitting their resume, as it were, and their agenda to the American people, and then let the primary voters decide. That's what democracy should mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you mean like they did last time when you didn't chart?
Do you want to debate the president?
Absolutely, I want to debate the president, and I think that he should debate me, given the fact that I am another candidate.
Are you, though?
All right.
I'm the declared one, actually.
All right, you're the only one for the time being here. Do you think others will enter? Because no one seems to be, even with that disaffection for the president among the base, to jump in.
It's a very serious decision whether or not to run for president, and I respect that. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking very deeply about their own, you know, they're thinking about their careers because they're part of the political machinery. I'm not. So I don't have to worry about any of those things like what will this mean for my future political career.
No, because she is effectively right now the Santorum of the Democrats. That's what this is. I mean, there is no better way, and you can basically you're gonna get free press from Fox News for running against Biden. Are we sure this isn't Madeline Kahn pulling a mother of all punk skits on us? No, we're not.
I think there might be some other people from outside that political machine who jump in. That's, to me, the sort of glory of democracy, that anybody should be out there who feels moved to be out there and give their case, put their piece to the American people.
Right. But don't do it as a Democrat because you're not really.
You know, the last time you were running, you were talking about love and, you know, the idea
and that kind of shit.
Of decency and look after your fellow man. I'm kind of conflating it all. I apologize.
Yeah, it's you or Jesus. I always mix up the whole message or something about fish and loaves and whatever.
For that. But now there are reports in Politico that you don't practice necessarily what you preach, that you.
Oh, yeah, this is the article about her being mean to staff and having shouting matches. And don't look at me like that, Marianne. Don't look to me for backup about condescending attitudes towards staff.
There are allegations you've been very mean, condescending, actually cruel to staff members, that you have a long history of yelling and screaming at them. They're afraid of you. What do you say?
This is what they do.
Yes, it's what they do. That's why that's the problem with the help, isn't it, Neil?
What they do. These are the hits that they make. Hit pieces come. Mockery from the press secretary.
Hit pieces like, AKA fake news.
To the president comes. The women on The View. These are the dirty tricks that mean you're rattling someone. Somebody's not happy that you're there.
Or everybody's looking for material and you show up with a pie already on your face. Let's be completely honest here. The idea that this is part of the crab bucket scheme where you're trying to crawl out and the rest of the crabs shake the bucket so that you have to fall back down in and nobody escapes because you're only the ascendant few are allowed. Let's set that aside for a second and understand the ego involved in thinking that when you make a long shot run for the presidency with a history like Marianne has and where she comes from, California, like, hippie spirituality, astrology and long talks about, spiritualism and being on Oprah's book club, talking about A Course in Miracles. You have to expect that rake is there because of where you're coming from. Doesn't mean you can't overcome it. Doesn't mean you can't walk around it or that it should in any way disqualify you from being able to do it. If Orange, if the mango monkey can, say he grabs women by the pussy and still end up being president, obviously anybody with Marianne's history spiritually can get past that with the voters and get a shot at being elected. The problem is that you are ice skating uphill against that, and to think it's the system against you, to think it's like, oh, they're just afraid of me, that's why they don't want it. No, you're just fucking hilarious. That's the truth. That's the biggest ego aspect of all this shit, and the part I find the most irritating. This is not about the democratic system fearing the impact that Marianne Williamson will have on the electorate or the message. It's that on the one hand, she serves up exactly what Fox wants, which is a secondary attack on Biden, but has no value to the average voter. That's the problem. And with it, this kind of egoish idea that, well, I did it, but, I'm Oprah's book club. I deserve a shot. Not everybody deserves a shot, so why not? But excuse me, don't you know who I am? Neil. That's what this comes across as. This is not and again, this goes into that like deep state establishment bullshit that we keep hearing as an excuse for why people, get pushback socially from the world at large. Ugh.
Somebody feels threatened by the conversation that you're bringing.
No, they don't. They don't feel threatened by the conversation you're bringing up. The conversation that you're bringing up is absurd at its face in terms of interpolitics in the Democratic Party. And the only reason you get FaceTime on Fox is because they're counting on you to shit on Democrats and shit on Joe Biden. That's what that's your gig. That's your job now. And by the way, they're going to bring up, Cavuto's going to bring up that Politico piece, or they're going to bring up your, the like hippie free love, blah, blah, blah. And when they're bringing those things up, it isn't because, well, in balance, this is just the history that you have or what people are saying, like we cover a news story. They're doing that to make sure you don't get any headway. If there's any kind of setup here, if there's any coordinated effort to make sure you go no further than just being an anti-Democratic Party gadfly for Fox News, it's that. It's them saying, set her up and shut her down. Set her up and shut her down. And then invite her back on because she absolutely will come here.
So this is what happens in politics, and I'm
No,
not
no,
surprised that it's
I certainly
happening to me.
understand that, but they do quote a few people. You're quite right. Quite a few of these were not identified. But this,
Have you noticed that?
But this poor Paul Hodes, the former congressman, who had said that, this is consistent with my observation, quoting him, and consistent with behavior I have seen. What do you say?
I could talk about Paul Hode's behavior, but I'm not going to go there. If anybody has ever felt that I was not respectful to them who worked for me, then I am sorry.
I accept your apology. And so does Chud, apparently. Hold on. 1 second. Chud, Hi, can I help you? No. Okay. She's sprier than she used to be since her surgery, so she just took off. That's great. She's moving around. Yay.
But I also know that this is a hit piece. I think any time that...
All right. If you drive your car into a tree, you hit the tree. And a hit was involved in the striking of your car to the tree. But the tree did not hit you. Now, a piece of your car hit the tree, so that was a hit piece. That said, you don't blame the tree.
Somebody criticizes you, you always have to ask yourself, is any of it true? Is 10% of it true? If 10% of it is true, then I want to correct that within myself and within my behavior. But that's not what's going on here. Do I?
You're right. It's more like 42%.
Have some things to learn from any experience, including that one? Absolutely. But I also think that people can see through the obvious game that's being played here.
No, they can't. No. Because again, you come across as a gadfly, as the Santorum of the Democratic Party, and you're condescending towards anyone who thinks that you might have a longer row to hoe than other people who've been in government before, especially after we've just had somebody who ran as I'm outside the system and fucked up the whole world.
By establishment forces who don't want me in the game.
Establishment. There it is. Outrageous.
Some people put it out there, including the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, who made a
You don't have to say her whole
number
name.
of snide references about you. I just want you to respond to this.
Is the president annoyed, frustrated with Marianne Williamson for jumping in the race ahead of him? Did he want a clear field to run against the Republican nominee in 2024?
Just not tracking that. I mean, if I had a what is it called, a little globe here, crystal ball, then I can tell you. But I imagine 8-ball, whatever. If I could feel her aura, I just don't have any, I just don't have anything to share on that.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was a good joke. Can't you feel my aura? This is about my aura, isn't it? It's been on the fritz. I need new batteries.
What I thought of that is, first of all, she's not tracking that. You-know-what, she's not tracking that. Obviously she is. Those were not spontaneous remarks. I've written 15 books. I've given thousands of lectures. No one will see anywhere that I have said or written anything about crystal balls or about auras. I write books about...
Right. That's not... All right. And by the way, I've been to hundreds of her lectures. It is not an absurdity to bring up any of those things.
Religious, spiritual themes at the heart of all the great religious teachings of the world. And I think given the deep religiosity and spirituality of the majority of Americans, you might want to be careful mocking that.
No. She's not. When you mock crystal balls and magic 8 balls and auras, Catholics, Christians, Jews, and Muslims are not going to start pearl clutching.
You know, I agree with you. I mean, you're very profound on it. A politics of love comes to mind, where you raise issues that maybe a lot of candidates, a lot of people in general, don't share during a campaign. But the idea when you ran last time is that you were caught off guard, that you were flippant, that you're making up for it now by really getting down and studying a lot of these issues. do you regret the way things started in that last campaign?
Well, I think the issue that you bring up, the point is what you just said, when they started. I think when people actually came to hear me speak last time, I was speaking about serious issues then, but because, the debates were kind of early, I was nervous. I made a couple of, I gave ammunition to those who wanted to oppose.
Yes, you did.
By sounding kind of silly with a couple of things I said. Although I also said some very serious things in those debates about all kinds of issues as well. But when people actually came to...
Yes, well, Neil put his pants on with the front part forward today, but that doesn't mean he gets to walk a runway.
Hear me? The issue was take something silly that she said, use it to create fairy dust so people won't even come hear her.
Don't say fairy dust. Now they're going to say, now next week, Karine Jean-Pierre is going to start going, I don't know, if I had some fairy dust and...
But if you look at my website from last time and you look at my...
Oh, you mean the one I talked you into buying the URL for when you thought I was nuts?
Actual talks last time, I was talking about serious issues then. Now, I think people are hearing me. That's the main difference because...
Well, Fox viewers are.
To be honest with you, Neil, I'm not talking any more seriously now than I was talking then.
That's true.
I was just seen in certain situations early in the debate, all of that. They'll take one viral moment when you go cringe, and then that turns a lot of people. It's a deflection technique.
Excuse me, by the way. Can we just understand that Joe Biden, the gaffe machine, is president right now? That the ability to not be cringy in those moments after a while, to develop that skill when your habit maybe even in that direction is part of the gig.
You're going to get a lot more scrutiny as a result because clearly you are preparing for this very differently. But you are an unabashed and unapologetic progressive. You are looking for a single-payer health care system, paid leave, parental leave, free child care, tuition-free public and vocational schooling, $1 trillion.
Sounds good. Great.
Dollar in reparations to Black Americans. How are you going to pay for all of that?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, take something like healthcare alone. University of Massachusetts at Amherst has just come up with a study that says over the next 10 years, it would actually save us $5 trillion to have Medicare for all. We now pay about roughly 18.3% of our GDP goes into health care. If you look at countries that actually have universal health care, which is every other advanced democracy, look at Germany, look at Canada, maybe 10%, maybe 15%. The question is, how do we not afford to? Look at what we are paying in health care now. We have an $88 billion medical debt. 1 in 4 Americans are living with medical debt. 68,000 people every year dying for lack of health care.
You're quite right about all of that, but it's the idea of paying for it up front to get going, right? I mean, do you want to tax the rich? Do you want to surcharges? How are you going to, because that's just part of it. There's a lot more. I mean, what do you do?
Well, first of all, we spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which were obviously spectacular failures. And the first question people were asking was not how are you going to pay for it. Yes, we should have a fairer taxation, particularly for the very, very rich. We should get rid of these corporate subsidies.
What is a fair taxation? No, I'm sorry, Ms. Williams. What is a fair taxation? Okay. What's a fair amount for the rich to pay?
I would not have a problem with a wealth tax. I would not have a problem. If you have $50 million in the bank, I don't have a problem with you paying 2% extra in tax. I don't have a problem with that. And if you have $1 billion in asset and we ask for 1% on top of that, that's not even going to affect your day. So, we had a 2017 tax cut, $2 trillion.
By the way, there is, for the record, adding 1%, I don't know, to the tax burden of billionaires or people who make $1 billion a year, a 1% raise or a 2% raise. What was the amount that she said on the first one?
As an asset, and we ask for 1% on top. I don't understand. I don't have a problem with you paying two. If you have $50 million in the bank, I don't have a problem with you paying 2.
So if you have $50 million in the bank, 2 more percent, I don't know, on that amount. Like we're just going to tax 2% out of that 50 that you've already paid taxes on, and you've accumulated or whatever. 2% of that, and 1% of every billionaire is not going to pay for Medicare for all. The only serious way you could pay for that kind of program massively on a country as big as the United States, I believe, is a 5% surcharge on all stock transfers, for example. Like you pay a sales tax on all stocks that cost more than $10 a share. And that factors into it. Buying or selling at 5 cents for every stock over $10. Whether you buy it or sell it, when you buy it or sell it, it would effectively it would slow down the day traders. It would steady the stock market and get people, more apt to be in long form investing. And the amount of money generated by that would overwhelm the amount of money that you could shave off the 100,000 billionaires in the country in one fell swoop that would not pay for a system that big.
2% extra in tax. I don't have a problem with that. And if you have $1 billion in asset and we ask for 1% on top of that, that's not even going to affect your day.
That also doesn't mean anything. 1% on top of that, it's all right.
So
yeah, it would also, yes, they'll hide more of it offshore.
We had a 2017 tax cut. $2 trillion, 83 cents went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. Why is it, Neil?
But everyone got that tax cut, right? Everyone got that.
Hold on.
The president limits it. I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. I want to limit the 400,000 and over group. That's what the president says. He's targeting. Anyone beneath that, below that, will not have to worry about paying a penny more in tax. How do you feel about that?
I feel he's absolutely right. Nobody. The middle class tax cut, in the 2017 tax cut, the middle class tax cut was a good idea. So while I would wish to repeal the tax cut on the highest earners, the middle
So the Biden
class
plan.
tax
Then
cut was a good idea.
how do you differ from President Biden, the man you're trying to topple for the nomination?
He's old and white, and he rides bicycles.
What is he saying?
I haven't ridden a bicycle, Neil, since I lived in Montecito.
That you are not want to do.
I'm kidding. She didn't even ride a bike then.
He's not doing.
Okay. The president approved yesterday the Willow Project, which is a massive fossil fuel extraction plan in Alaska. I would cancel that the first day. I want universal health care like in every other advanced democracy, and the president has said that he would veto a Medicare for all bill if it came to his desk. The president has said that he wants to make pharmaceutical drugs cheaper, a few of them. Like I said, I want universal health care. I want actually what...
Yeah, but that won't make the drugs cheaper. If we have universal health care, effectively the government is the payer of first resort, in this situation. That the government ends up being the single payer, the primary purchaser of those kind of things under that system. Ultimately, you are not going to lower the price of prescription drugs that way. You would have to have separate legislation to do it.
They have in every other advanced democracy, whether it has to do with universal health care, paid family leave. I want to raise the minimum wage. You have one-third
So you want to go
American
further than
workers.
this president did, even as a vice president working with Barack Obama on so-called Obamacare. You want to go way beyond that, correct?
I want universal health care like they have in every other advanced democracy. You don't have people die. Look at insulin alone. Look at how many millions of Americans are rationing their insulin.
Yeah, they're already fixing that. That will be an issue before there. Hold on. Hold on. Let me, yeah. Now, the biggest problem with Medicare for all versus a single payer system is that you will have to, and this is where they called it death panels, but ultimately that's not the case. It's where you have to ration the available physicians and nurses and facilities because you just do not have enough for the people who will need them, especially when it comes to elective surgery, which we saw during the pandemic. And this is Australia. A ballooning number of people waiting for elective surgery needs to be addressed. And that's, by the way, that's knees, shoulders, that kind of, stents that doctors think can wait. It's a lot of stuff. needs to be addressed urgently with extra funding and reforms, the Australian Medical Association says. If no action is taken by all levels of government, the number of people waiting for elective surgery is expected to be more than 500,000 by 30 of June. The wait times on like knee surgery and the like in the UK and in Australia can balloon to 6 years. 6 years with your bum knee breaking down, your hip, whatever, those kind of things. Again, if you're going to do this, you have to be all in. You have to do this on such a level that you fund the expansion of medical schools. You increase the number of available doctors and facilities. You increase the orthopedic surgeons in the country through a, almost, post-World War II advanced plan. You have to do these things. It's not enough to just go, now we'll pay for it instead of you paying for it. Now it'll come out of the taxpayers instead of it coming directly out of your payment, and we're gonna price fix all of these things. We do not, and we learned this during the pandemic, we don't have enough hospital beds. We don't. That kind of thing. You're going to have to fund that beyond the system you're gonna have to pay for it directly. You're gonna because it's gonna be Medicare for all. If you have a single payer system, it can expand and contract as needed. But you can't do it with a Medicare for all system immediately. You can't. That's why you want to go from the ACA to single payer to a full universal system. It's a transition period. You're going to have to do that, or you will not have the facilities and people will wait for fucking years. Yeah.
18 million.
By the way, she nor he are ever going to have to wait a single second for an affordable medical procedure, ever. She's a multimillionaire. I don't know if he's a millionaire, but he's definitely rich and has Fox insurance. They don't have these kind of problems. It's an abstract.
Americans cannot afford to fulfill the prescription.
What the word transition terrifies right-wingers, though? Well, I know, because they think it's a slippery slope, and that's how they try to go against it. And that's the all-or-nothing crowd. They praise the all-or-nothing crowd. It's one of the other reasons they're having her on, too, is that Medicare for all is an absolute non-starter for over 50% of the country. Even when people have medical debt and all that kind of stuff, because they look to, the minor things that you come up across, or like if you have a heart attack or some things like that, we should be able to handle. But if you have long form cancer or other stuff like that, the treatment systems in those countries can run dry on you or drag out and are not responsive the way they are in the United States and haven't been. And that's why rich people from the UK or Australia or Canada will often come to the United States for treatment, because the facilities here, even in the situation where, because of the amount of medical debt we've accrued as a country, because we pay out of pocket or we have direct insurance, that has necessitated the need for the creation of places like St. Jude's and others, and that has actually created more treatments and more available facilities than they have in other countries. So again, if the goal is, and I think it should be, universal availability of medical treatments when you get sick or injured, you're not going to jump straight to it. And especially in a country like ours, because it will take one cycle with a Republican president, or like, if we think it's safe, look at Roe v. Wade. If we think Medicare for all is set up and safe, and then people are like, well, it's the law, we're not going to change any of it, it's untouchable like Social Security, and then Republicans or people like them are leaning that direction, get in there, all they got to do is shiv the shit out of it, and suddenly it becomes untenable, and people start clamoring that they can't see a doctor anymore, and the whole thing falls apart, and then the spike in costs goes through the fucking roof.
That their doctors give to them. You don't have this happening in other advanced
I understand.
democracies.
So, you're going to hear critics who are saying you're going to break the bank. We have huge deficits, debt that's piling up. We're in the middle of...
Yes, a third of it was caused by Trump in particular.
Fiscal crunch as we speak. Banks are in great disarray, and you're going to tax it all the more. They say,
you know what I'm going to do?
What do you say?
My response to that is that there are equally legitimate arguments that say if people have universal health care, if people can go to college, if we get rid of these college loan debts, if we have a higher minimum wage, this will actually stimulate the economy. There is just as good an argument that this will stimulate the economy. So this austerity way of just making it easier for those who already have to get more and harder for everybody else to even make it is not giving us the thriving economy that some of them would like to make us believe. The American people know better. The visceral experience of the American people is that 80% of Americans are struggling to hold on.
All right. We'll watch it very closely. You do bear watching. Marianne Williamson, thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that in our moment of ego. Now, for the record, most of what you're going to see her on Fox like crazy. Are you going to see her on MSNBC? Maybe once or twice over the next little bit, because they're going to kind of have to give her some time. If her campaign has any legs at all, they will complain about the lack of time she's getting from CNN or MSNBC. Now, MSNBC and and CNN will push back that she gets plenty of time on Fox. And if people want to see her, it's not like they can, the fairness doctrine doesn't exist and blah, blah, blah. But she could definitely cry foul and get on those places. The problem is she's going to get pushback in the differentiation between what she actually wants to accomplish or can accomplish through legislation, when none of this stuff is ever going to hit. You can't executive order Medicare for all, for example. And so, again, you're going to have to do this in mitigatory steps. This is what Biden and Obama knew. This is what Biden has been pushing for. This is why they think it's creeping communism. That's why Trump keeps saying socialism and socialism and communism. And the reason he's saying this is because any incrementalism he thinks is moving us towards communism, because he's fucking stupid. But the point is, that's the only way you can make this kind of giant legislative change. The only reason, the UK was able to install a national health service is because they've basically been bombed back to the 1400s during World War II. They had no choice. They had no system set in place for a normal functioning healthcare after, the London had been strafe bombed for years. So the United States, having not been through that and having a substructure that actually functions most of the time the way it's supposed to, has made shifting changes, and there's been a big push by the healthcare industry and a big push by the insurance companies to put a big smiley face on insurance, and they're doing outreach all over the place. People who have insurance through their employer or through their union pushed back hard on the ACA initially, and now it's they've recognized that it's not going to eat on anything. As a matter of fact, it buoyed up what they were getting, but they're going to push back against Medicare for all. Whereas as a single payer of choice, I personally think that a single payer system and an interstate one, meaning states set up their interstate, their individual state single payer systems, where you get the Washington State healthcare plan or the Massachusetts one like they have, which was the bones of Obamacare, or what they called Romney Care for a while. If you could buy into that from another state, the state benefits because it's not really a profit-making situation. You could use it towards infrastructure. You could use it to expand your schools and do all kinds of stuff like that. And if you don't like what a state is doing with it, you could move your funds someplace else. Fuck Massachusetts. They cut funding to teachers, or they're being assholes to trans kids or whatever. So I'm going to sign up for the California single payer system instead of a single federal one that someone like this dickhead could kneecap. Because anytime somebody talks about like Medicare for all being set up as a primary situation without, by the way, you have to for Medicare for all to work, you have to outlaw private insurance. Because if it's an option, the Republicans can drive people to that option, and they will. Because on a state level, they will deny funds, and on a federal level, if they get in any position of power, they will fucking kneecap it. You have to think, because these people aren't just against it just to be dicks. They're against it for a myriad of reasons. Some of it is financial. They just are buddies with insurance companies, and they're buddies with pharmaceutical companies, and they're buddies with medical associations, and they golf with doctors and dentists and shit like that. And they don't want it to ever shift into those profits and lower the impact of those companies because they rely on it both to get elected and interpersonally for their own business. And then there's a bunch of them who believe that, like, fuck them, you can't save everybody, and the whole thing's based on just people will smoke and drink and they won't exercise and all this shit, and taxpayers will be funding people's lethargic lifestyles. That is a huge section of the pushback against Medicare for all in and amongst people across this country. It just is. And again, the idea that, people who don't pay any taxes, people who are, below the tax level, who are poorer, this is what they think, being able to be lazy and do drugs and whatever, and then we've all got to pay when they end up in the hospital through Medicare for all. That's the non-starters. You're not going to be able to move the legislation past those fucking people. Not in one fell swoop. It is not going to happen. So the question is, if your goal is ultimately that, or your goal is ultimately that you believe you can lift everybody up past this point, you've got to have a multi-tiered approach, like a fucking adult. I don't know why he's pointing at me, but because he knows I'm right. But you have to have a multi-pronged approach to solving the problems that are around and of healthcare, education, and other stuff, clean water, a good functioning food system, all that stuff, along with what I believe is, and I've said this before, and I don't know why it took me this long, quite frankly, to kind of put it into words like this, but I don't believe healthcare is a right, because no one who gets cancer has their rights violated by a disease that is eating them up. It is part of life. Disease is a part of life. I believe healthcare is a responsibility, both on your own part and on the part of society. And this is how I think it plays out. You as an individual have a responsibility to be as healthy as you possibly can be within the limits of your belief system, your philosophy about your life. If you think your humanity has worth, you have a responsibility to eat better, moderation in your imbibing, not smoking, whatever, anything that you can do to make your system healthier. You have a responsibility to do that, because there's only so many doctors, there's only so many nurses, there's only so much insulin, there's only so much drugs that are out there, and whatever you take, someone else doesn't get. This is closer to zero sum when it comes to medication and people treating you, right? So you have a responsibility to do the best you can, so that if you do end up, God forbid, in the hospital or with some sort of long form disease, it's not because you did it, it's because life happens, and it absolutely does. And the same thing is true of people who cannot help it. In those situations, when someone is affected by a disease or an accident, or something happens to them that they have no control over, and they do not have the resources to deal with it, I think it's the responsibility of a functioning civil society like the United States to make sure that person gets through it as best they can, or deals with it in as much comfort as is possible if it's a permanent thing. What if you're born with birth defects? That's exactly right. You have no responsibility to a birth defect. It's something you have. So I think the society has a responsibility as just in our humanity, towards people who have birth defects or cancers that they got, not because they smoked cigarettes or whatever. And again, I believe in treating people if they got cancer, however they got it. But the point is, if you got it because of the rivers and streams were fucked up because of a factory up the river or some cancer cluster that you were born into, that's not your responsibility. At 9 years old, you couldn't yell at your family, "I don't give a fuck about your job, Dad. I don't give a fuck about your job, Mom. I'm going to get cancer in 3 years. We have to move." Like, there's no way you can do that. So we as a society have a responsibility to help people in that situation, while at the same time taking as much responsibility about our interpersonal relationships and our health of our own bodily autonomy and our health there as we possibly can, so that we are never and this is an ethical thing that I'm talking about. You can't legislate this. This is something that humanity has. That's why I call it a responsibility as opposed to a rule or a law or something like that. And that is, it's important to the conversation. And you will not move forward in a universal system in the United States until you invest in that mentality to some degree. Flang Doodle thinks it's word salad. I don't think so. I think there's two primary things. I think those work very well. So no more fish delights. I would agree. Yes, that's true. What about the companies making profits off of those chemicals? The chems? You mean the drugs? Well, I would argue, what are they doing with the profits? I mean, some people invested. So are they going to invest in this in the next big cure to something if they need the money to make something like that? If they don't get a return on their investment worldwide, we're not talking about money that's just inside the United States or anywhere else. Where's it going? Where's it coming from? Stockholders, people who buy into it, people with retirement plans, unions, that's who invests in these things. Would you invest in a pharmaceutical company that doesn't have a successful treatment for something? That's part of it. That's, so the profits from that, if it's just the CEO getting a golden parachute, I think you've got a really good argument for a farcical economic system going on in that pharmacy. But if you're talking about giant pension funds, one of their investments is in Moderna or Pfizer or something like that, and they expect a return on their investment, either in rising stock prices or in dividends specifically, then there's a reason why they would want that company to be successful. At a certain point, it would seem to me, in a lot of these cases where a company that just makes drugs that prolong the disease is always, if they were the only company in the world, there's an argument that they would just want treatments and no cure. But if any other company can actually go, hey, by the way, we cured this and there's no cure for this other thing, but we do have a treatment that can help you with this thing. And you can trust us because we cured that other shit that these guys were just keeping you on the tit forever. That's the competition that goes on amongst pharmaceutical companies. I think I came across a vault and fault that ran the achievement-based experience. I agree with you. Your second point first half worries me. Responsibility, merit-based society can lead to inbreed mental illness of bias. Well, no, I'm talking about specifically an individual ethic and then a societal respect for human life. Those two primary things have to be fomented, I believe, if that makes sense, because you are in a community an individual. And so I believe ethically, morally, intellectually, to the best of your capability, you have to live up to your highest standard as often as you can, without stressing yourself out to the point where you make yourself sick. That's always, I'm talking about genuine balance. But you have to have a responsibility for your own life so that there is room for people who are not responsible for theirs. Does that make sense? And when you do that, when that's part of the greater culture, you could pass Medicare for all in one session. Because people would go, yeah, I'm not going to take advantage of the system and clog it up just for the fuck of it, or eat a bunch of shit and treat my body like garbage and then, roll in there like, and slap the counter and demand service and push my way in front of somebody else in line or gack up the line, because I have a bunch of lifestyle diseases that I could avoid. And that's what's stopping it right now. Yeah, it's already 5:30. Well, no, it's 4:30, technically. Well, you are. Are you Mountain Times? Did I just find out something about you? You in Mountain Time? Lo quiera? Yeah. It does rush by. Okay, so it's time for the House Sparks Megaworldwide lightning round, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you could be here. These next little bits are just that. They're little bowls of niblets. It's a Whitman sampler of idiocy from this dude. He cranked out a bunch of these little shorty things, 29 seconds, 51 seconds, 50 seconds, 26 seconds, 56 seconds. He was tired of trying to get through a whole 3-minute take. You will notice that this one's there twice. There's a shorter version and a longer version. This one's just once, I think, short. Desanctimonious, there you go. Leading in the polls, nation decline. Banks are starting to collapse. Get the $6 trillion back that Mitch McConnell gave to Biden, or whatever the fuck. We must pull out of the unfair Eric. Oh, dear God, he doesn't want his son anymore. Nobody did more for farmers. China. Okay, so he's doing snippets from his speech, essentially, in these little segments so that they make these little tweetables, truthables. And he did get, even on Rumble, he got 4 thumbs down. He's about to get 5, I think. But these are, and I will, can we all notice they all have the same thumbnail face. So they're doing this on purpose, right? Look at this. This is not, well, I take it back. We could find out that he actually does start with his fucked up face in this, in this one situation, in the exact same pose. He has that squinch, right? The farm one is hilarious. I will find out. Here we go.
Our enemies are desperate to stop us because
and
they
is
know
he quiet?
that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know it.
Our enemies. Shit. Hold on. And I've got. Let me. I gotta see if is the audio in here. Yeah, here we go.
Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they
so
know
desperate
that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know it very strong.
They know it. They wish I could stop them. They want to stop them like that.
And they're looking at the polls where not me, but we are up by so much. They can't.
Yes, we. You're really voting for MAGA. It's not that I'm going to win this election. It's that you're going to win this election.
Even believe it. We won twice, and now we've got to win a 3rd time. They know that we can defeat them. They know that we will defeat them.
I don't know who he's talking about at this point. Do you? Is it Russia? Is it China? Is it Iran? Is it Kim Jong-un? Is it the deep state? Is it Democrats? Is it Joe Biden?
But they're not coming after me. They're coming after you.
Oh, okay. It's Letitia James. I'm sorry. I was mistaken. I thought this was about when he said our enemies, I was like, oh, this must be a foreign policy statement. This is actually just his legal troubles. These aren't my legal troubles. These are your legal troubles. Look, you're the one who said grab him by the pussy. You're the one who ejaculated all over E. Jean Carroll's dress like a fucking pig. That's you. You did that. You. All right? I didn't lie to the banks about my properties being worth more than they were, or to the IRS about that. That's something you did, okay? And if I go to jail, you go to jail, okay? This is how this works.
I'm just standing in their way.
I'm sure people try to get around you. I agree.
And I always will.
Yes, you will always be in the way. Yes, an unconstructive obstacle in life's great travels.
Stand in their way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad. If you're doing poorly, don't send anything. If you're doing well, text Trump to this number. If you're doing poorly. Okay, first of all, the asshole is stealing my gig. This is aggravating. I'm the one who says, like, if you can't afford to help out the show, don't even feel stressed about it. Please don't. But if you can, please help out. You know what? I'm just glad they're watching. All right, here we go. Like thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. Look, the Cash App thing's still fucked up. I'll have to fix that. I don't know why that's it. That's very wonky. Why are you like that little Cash Appy thing? I don't know. Hold on. I'm gonna stretch this down. Whoop. There we go. Maybe that'll do it. Boop. Perhaps. Sure. Hey, now it works. Look at that. Huh? Oh, by the way, if I may, I have to scroll back some. Where is it? Oh, yes. Todd, thank you so much. And Sarah, thank you very much. And who did I miss? There's so many. Oh, it's still, there we go. That's just, okay, we're good. So those were the last couple, and I just wanted to make it for the Cash App and Venmo. It rotates through. If you use one or the other, I think it should technically. I don't know. All right, here we go. So let's continue. He did another version of this, which is longer. I don't know if it's longer credits. Our enemies.
These 4 horrible radical left Democrat investigations.
I see. So he shaved that part off the other one. So to just go straight to enemies because him bitching about being under indictment for his criminal activities isn't playing well in the heartland. It's doing very well in the colon land.
Your all-time favorite president, me, is just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt in the history of our country. It's gone on forever.
I gotta say, as far as disgusting witch hunts go, I'm gonna go with the one where they burned women. Just, and you know, maybe as somebody who likes women and respects them, perhaps I'm biased in this situation, but I'm gonna having read The Crucible in middle school, I'm gonna go with the worst witch hunt in the country was the actual witch hunt. I don't know that anybody agree with me on that one. You think pretty much as far as they chart, this is like him going, no president has ever been treated as badly as your favorite president, Donald Trump. Even including the ones that were shot in the head. I honestly, the one who died 3 days later after being shot, they at least gave him soup. This is bullshit.
Russia. Ukraine, and the
Again, that doesn't work. I'm sorry. I know he's supposed to be a master of these things, but I just think it's ass. The Ukraine shit.
Mueller hoax. It's an absolute disgrace what's going on. They even spied on my campaign.
Oh my God, this is just needle drops.
And remember this, with all of the work that they did on Mueller, no collusion.
No, that's what Barr said, and you hate that fucking guy.
That's what the answer was.
No, it wasn't.
It was all no collusion.
No, it wasn't.
Whether it's the Mar-a-Lago raid or the Unselect Committee hoax, the perfect Georgia phone call, it was absolutely perfect.
It was so perfect. I said everything you're supposed to say that gets the crime done without saying the thing that gets you in trouble for trying to get the crime done. God damn it.
Or the Stormy Horseface Daniels.
Jesus Christ, asshole. Like, look. The idea that this dude gets to criticize anybody's looks. This guy does realize that he would never have been sexually involved with anybody on par with the women that he's had as wives or as mistresses or as side pieces or at the fucking Epstein parties if he hadn't been born rich and relatively famous. Dude, dial it the fuck back. Especially when you're rocking the nunt right now.
Extortion plot.
Extortion plot. It was an extortion plot. She was going to talk about what happened. And I had to pay her to keep quiet, which was my idea. But
they're all sick, and it's fake news.
They're all sick, and it's fake news. There's sick people. Sick.
Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know
yes, the
know
roly.
it very strongly.
They know it, so it is. Roger.
And they're looking at the polls where, not me, but we.
Okay, yeah, so the top of this, they cut off the whole Stormy Horseface Daniels stuff. That they basically started this right about here. That's the other video. They're like, even for you, that's a bit much. And he's like, leave it. I love it. Okay, we must. Here he goes. This is the next. This is in. We must take back the White House. That is not going to happen.
Our country is under attack by the fake news media, crime, and an invasion at our southern border like nobody has ever seen before.
I blame the wall.
We must take back the White House in 2024 and make America great again. It's going to happen. We have no choice.
We have no choice. I don't want to do it, but thank you. Thank you. We've got to take it. We're just doing blurbs today. I'm just blurbing. Can I just say for the record, like, it looks like they're slicing these into little salami slices because he looks like a fucking mess. This is bad. This is really bad. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole... We've got to take back the White House immediately in 2024 or we're all doomed and it's all over. This is DeSanctimonious voted to destroy Social Security. Oh, boy. Oh, and there's a picture of him.
Kind of for president taking on the president himself.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interview.
Get out of here. Stop. I don't know why that started playing automatically. Here we go. Back up. I'm sorry, Mr. President. You were signing something in front of a picture? What a fucking poser. Jesus.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
DeSanctimonious. Does anybody know what the fuck he intends to mean with that? DeSanctimonious? Like, of the sanctimonious people? Or he's not sanctimonious, he's sanctifying things. It's like Trump. He can automatically declassify any classy joint he walks into.
Voted 3 times to cut and destroy Social Security.
Along with every other Republican, which you supported.
And increase the age requirement to at least 70 years old. Likewise, he voted to radically cut Medicare. And remember, he is a disciple of Paul Ryan. What can you expect?
Yeah, it's all, what do you expect? He's going to destroy Social Security. And so when I run, I've got to defend the fact that I, as a Republican, aren't going to change anything about it. And no one's going to believe me. And Republicans who hate it anyways are going to be all mad. And please keep talking.
And to go a little bit further, he reminds me very much of a guy named Mitt Romney.
Not only is he as bad as Paul Ryan, he's as bad as a guy I like to call Mitt Romney. Mittens O'Romney. That's abominable.
What else has to be said?
What else has to be said? Nothing. Well, I mean, that's not fair. You do have to keep talking because unless you post these videos, the Federal Election Commission will know that this is just a phony money grab and not a real campaign.
That's where he comes from, and that's where he'll go.
Utah? Utah.
Vote Trump. We're going to make America great again.
I'm convinced. I don't know about you. That's what we need right now is really ballsy, in your face, loud, not afraid to speak the truth. And I don't know if you know about a little guy named Mitt Romney. Remind you of anybody? I thought so. Mitt Romney lost the last time he ran, and I lost the last time I ran. Shit, who wrote this? Yeah, don't worry about it. Like, somebody's like, fuck, we're gonna have to listen to this shit for the next 18 months. It's gonna get sillier.
Polls show me doing substantially better against hopeless Joe Biden than Ron DeSanctimonious would do. In fact, he doesn't even come close to winning.
Sorry. I like what he has to throw in because the jabs aren't jabby enough. Like De Sanctimonious sounded like a dud in his own head. And, and so he had to go, he hasn't even come close to it. Like he had to throw in that extra shit because my initial, I don't know, this is working, I don't know, Russia.
An early forerunner would be the 2020 election where I did much better than in 2016.
Yes. And Joe Biden curb stomped your campaign horribly. And the first time you ran, you lost the popular vote, and nobody's going to make that mistake again. Even like if Hillary Clinton ran again against Joe Biden, managed to get it, she's going to win against him. I got news for you. Nobody's going to go, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Nobody's in give it a shot mood with this fuckhead anymore. DeSantis has a much stronger chance, and this asshole's going to eat him alive.
Getting more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country.
Yeah, that's because there are more people than ever, and people were home and voted by mail largely. There were more voters engaged, which is what the Republican Party is trying to stop, and which you fucked up in 2022 by telling everybody to not trust the elections.
That election, however, was rigged.
That's the good thing about the Republicans. They're the party of personal responsibility.
They used the China virus, the FBI Twitter, and ballot stuff.
The FBI Twitter? FBI is on Twitter. I don't know that changed any votes, though.
In order to cheat. Good Republicans won't let that happen again.
Yeah, but obviously the rhinos will. And that's most of them. You've said so. I'm just saying. You just got to, be careful.
We cannot let it happen again.
We cannot let it happen again. That's when my friend Andy realized that it was going to happen again. You're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. We're just needle dropping at Trump's Rumble. Oh, this is going to be a good one. We're just making little tiny ones. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the big hits. Nation in Decline. I love this one. It's got a catchy chorus. And I think he samples Slayer in it. Nation in Decline. Here we go. Oh, boy. I mean, I don't even know how he could film this with the power going in and out. And obviously just, it's outside of Mar-a-Lago. He had to build a bigger wall outside of Mar-a-Lago because it's a hellscape down there.
The United States is in a period of great national decline.
Okay, a period of it? How long is it? About 2 weeks?
But fear not, we will make America great again.
Oh, good. Thank God. I was worried at one point. We're going to Magoo. Don't worry, everybody. We're going to Magoo. Magoo. Make America great over and over. Magoo.
It will happen.
We're gonna totally do it. We're doing it. I wasn't able to do it. The 4 years I was the leader of the free world and the most powerful politician on the planet. I just couldn't figure it out. I was busy golfing and screaming at my wife for making blood Christmas trees. But I've got it. I figured it out. Magoo.
We are a nation in decline.
So we're a nation in decline, I hear you saying. Is that a theme or say it again? I don't think the people in the cheap seats are hearing it.
But we will make America great again. Thank you.
All right, that's it. That's the whole thing. I'm convinced. We are a nation in decline. It's true. Well, we have declining unemployment. So there. Uh-oh. Oh no. This one's some of this stuff is evergreen, but some of it is hot off the presses. And this would be one of those. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Donald Trump hit here at Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Banks are starting to collapse. Oh, the banks are starting to collapse, and I got no money in my hat. Gotta go on the road once again. And shack up with my kin. It's a MAGA weekend. Cousin fucking as I'm trucking down the road. All right, I'm sorry. That was wrong. All right. So this is banks. Banks are starting to collapse. Are you Joe? Yes. Are you Joe Banks? Yes. Magalaka! All right. The banks, I don't know if you've seen this. And by the way, one of the banks he got a lot of his money from, Signature Bank, which got into deep shit, they're now going to get the records because it's been seized. So they don't even need a subpoena. I wonder if he's going to point out that like Democrats are crashing these banks just so they can get the records of his loans without having to subpoena them. When does that shit start up? And by the way, can I just say for the record, I am wearing a green shirt. It's just, you know, for the background and the color of the thing, it's just kind of a wash. All right, here we go. This is it. Banks are starting to collapse.
With what is happening to
Wait a
our
minute.
economy.
Wait. That was super quiet, but what happened?
With what?
They forgot to cut the audio off the top of that. I wish it was louder, but listen quietly. What is he saying?
With what?
Something we're November, we're ready to roll. Something like that. What is this?
With what?
Nope. Somebody just going in the background. Quality production there at the Trump campaign. Just who do you think it was? Stephen Miller? Somebody down there? Yeah, there's somebody in the background going before he said pudding. I think so.
With what is happening to our economy, and with the proposals being made on the largest and dumbest tax increase in the history of the USA.
He forgot where he was for a second. The largest and dumbest tax increase is dumb. I've always heard you never run on tax increases, and here they are bragging about it. The kidney.
Times 5. I figure times 5. Maybe.
It's not enough to just say it's the dumbest tax rise in history, but tax increase in history. He has to say times 5. I think it's times 5. But the next time he talks about this shit, it's going to be times 10. He just can't not. Motherfucker.
With what is happening to our economy, and with the proposals being made on the largest and dumbest tax increase in the history of the USA, times 5. I figure times 5, maybe more than that. Joe Biden will go down as...
I think maybe more than 5 times that. It's like 5 times dumb. It's the, you know, dumb times dumb 5 squared.
Herbert Hoover of the modern age.
By the way, because people have referenced him being the Herbert Hoover of the modern age, and that's
You know who Herbert Hoover is, right?
I can't. He was a president. A lot of people don't know that. Herbert Hoover is. Oh God. This is, oh God. It's like when somebody's like drunk and kind of picking an argument with you in a bar. Yeah, this is the dumbest bar I've ever been to times 5. Okay. Yeah. This place is some place Herbert Hoover wouldn't even walk into. You know who Herbert Hoover is, don't you? Yeah, let me tell you a thing or two about a thing or two.
Times 5, maybe more than that. Joe Biden will go down as the Herbert Hoover of the modern age. You know who Herbert Hoover is, right? We may have a great...
No, Who is he? Please go on. Why? Somebody had to tell him who Herbert Hoover was. That's what happened. That is the origin story of that line. Somebody mentioned Herbert Hoover, and Trump knew the name because it was old. He's the guy who made the dam, right? And they're like, no, Hoover is. They were Hoovervilles, and like people had to like live in the shanties because of he fucked up the economy, and that's how they. Oh, you know who Herbert Hoover is?
Great Depression, far bigger and more powerful than even that of 1929.
Huh? It's good. It's coming. It's good, but don't pull your money out, according to Glenn Beck.
As proof, the banks are already starting to collapse. We cannot allow a depression to happen.
Okay. Whew. Thank goodness. I like, what are we going to do to stop it? How do we, obviously they're already collapsing. And Biden obviously thinks just like Hoover, you know who he is, right? So, it's here. You can't be president for 2 more years. How do we, please tell us how we're going to fix this?
There is no reason for this. We cannot allow it to happen. Thank you.
That's it. Yes, you're right. There is no reason for a depression. So I guess problem solved. You're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's lightning round. It's little trumplets. We're doing little trumplets today, and it's just because he had to punch a bunch of these together just to stave off the FEC investigation into his money grab, especially since people just found out that that Truth Social got an inflow of money from Russia through its SPAC, and that came out. So he had to flood the zone with a bunch of videos, like, quick, make a bunch of videos. So they're talking about, I'll just say a bunch of shit. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen. This one's called "Get the 6 Trillion Back." Put the candle back that Mitch McConnell gave to Democrats. Mitch McConnell gave Democrats $6 trillion. Did he now? Well, golly. I guess he means because only Democrats have electric vehicles, and so the charging stations it'll build, and they're the only people who drive across bridges, and the only people who use the internet and airports, and oh god. All right, it was just a slush fund. $6 trillion slush fund. By the way, if Biden was able to get a $6 trillion slush fund for Democrats out of Mitch McConnell, the man should be king of America. Yeah, exactly. Where's mine?
The Republicans in Congress ought to demand the $6 trillion that Mitch McConnell gave to the Democrats and demand that it get back.
Get back. Get back to where you once belong. That it should get back? Get back, JoJo? What?
The Republicans in Congress ought to demand the $6 trillion that Mitch McConnell gave to the Democrats and demand that it get back. Put it back. Put it back in our treasury.
Get it back. Step away from those suitcases. All right, back into the treasury. $6 trillion. You get back. What are you doing? I don't know. I thought we were allowed it. No, you're not. Where are you going with that? You can't even break a $10,000 bill. You're going to take suitcases full of them out of, well, I can't carry them. And you make it smaller denominations. I was asking for that, that $1 trillion coin. It'd be so much easier. Just print one and I put it in my pocket. It would have been way easier. But I made 7 trips. I'm exhausted. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all this. I thought about maybe, since we did, I was going to buy Elon Musk I'm pretty sure he's for sale.
It's all Green New Deal and things that nobody wants.
It's all Green New Deal and things nobody wants. Yeah, we already spent it. I'm sorry. It was that kind of green. They smoked it.
Causes massive inflation, but demand it back before they even think about the debt ceiling vote.
Demand it. Give us $6 trillion back from all the infrastructure spending. What are you going to do? Go door to door and demand extended UI from COVID back from poor people? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, because he probably would. He probably like, we could do that. No, you cannot. Yeah, nobody wants clean air. Oh God, this is. You give us the $6 trillion back, then you can raise the debt ceiling. And since the debt ceiling only needs to be raised $1 trillion, giving us one back is not enough, where you don't have to raise it. Give us the 6 back, and then wait a minute. I signed off on that $6 trillion. All right.
A great way to cut spending, much of it wasted on so many things that we don't want.
You mean like Green New Deal stuff that nobody wants? That was it. Okay, that one today, I think that one wins in just the kind of like absolutely knucking futs category. That's just crazy. I don't even know why you would post that. That's just sad and dumb. Yeah, wasted on poor people. Yeah, screw the children. Just you need the sheriff from the Robin Hood Disney cartoon just walking around snatching money out of, like, nickels out of the church's bucket and shit like that. What the hell? This is, I don't know what this is. We must pull out of the unfair Eric. Fucking Eric. He just hates Eric, so he just wants to say this. Whew. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I feel like I have to do, these are shorter than normal, so smash the like. Venmo and Super Chat. Venmo, Super Chat, subscriptions, all that kind of stuff. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. And by the way, we had a new Patreon person just as the show was starting. And by the way, GMB, thank you so much for Chud and Hal's great show. Thank you. Happy St. Patty's Day to you as well. And Patricia. But before that, let me scroll back, because I set this up so I can see more of them now. Where was it? There it is. T-Dub. Oh my gosh. For that super chat earlier today, this morning. I really appreciate it. I didn't get a chance to say anything about that, so thank you so much. Would love to see your talent live in Kansas City someday. It's going to happen, Larry. Appreciate it. Where is it? There was somebody that became a new patron. It's in there somewhere. I'm going to have to dig it up. It's later. Rats. Sorry, it's farther down in the list, and it's going to aggravate me. There it is. Sean F. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon supporter. Really sweet of you. I think they did the annual version for the whole year. At least I hope, because it was a significant amount, and I feel like you shouldn't have to do that monthly. If you did, I wouldn't mind, but you don't have to. And by the way, we've got a bunch of, like, because we have $5 tiers and 10 and 20 and 50, whatever. But the people who do who sometimes will pick their own and do like $1 and stuff. I just want to say thank you to those folks. I know you can't do as much as the other folks, or we're putting your toe into the whole thing. I appreciate it. Just saying. There you go. All right. Now this one, we must pull out of the unfair Eric. He's this is him, I guess, regretting to not pulling out when Eric was conceived. We'll see.
All Republican governors should immediately pull out of Eric.
I had no idea there was a Republican governor gangbang going on of Eric.
The terrible voter registration system that pumps up the rolls for Democrats and does absolutely nothing to clean up those rolls.
Yeah, you do realize dead people can't vote. I mean, beyond the fact that you think they do is one thing, or that people vote using dead people, but actual dead people can't vote. Like, And if somebody's caught voting on behalf of someone dead, like, I don't know, like the guy who voted for you after killing his wife and pretending she was just missing, he used her ballot to vote for you. Like that guy, you go to jail.
It's a fool's game for Republicans. It cannot be overstated just how bad Eric truly is.
Well, then tell us. You got 20 more seconds-ish. Explain to us what's the real problem with Eric besides he's probably Gary Busey's. I'm not going to lie.
Republican governors who keep participating should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, but for a lot of other reasons. I participate. Yes, any Republican governor who treats Eric that way and doesn't pull out, or at least, no. How do you not, I'm trying so hard. I almost said it.
You can't win with this system.
No, you can't. Ask Eric.
And while these governors are at it, go to same-day voting, all paper ballots, and voter ID, that's voter identification.
Oh, see, I didn't know. I thought that you wanted to vote using that channel that's an offshoot of Discovery.
Our problems on elections have just been solved.
Well, great. They've just been solved. Got it. Fixed. Done.
Thank you.
Thank you. You don't need to do it. And by the way, that is the fucked up face. That's the end. That, like, crossbite thing, like, that sucked, but whatever. That, like, face he holds, I think he does default to that face at the beginning of these things. This might be an individual picture every single time. But I do agree with him. Republican governors, whatever you're doing to Eric, you should pull out. So awful. Yeah, it's Coke Jaw. It totally is. Nobody did more for farmers. I did more for farmers than Republican governors did to Eric. I'm sorry. This is just going to go on all fucking day, isn't it?
Nobody in history did more for the farmers of our country than I did.
Yeah, these lazy, no good, ungrateful assholes.
I got them $28 billion with a B, $28 billion from China.
Because the tariffs were wiping them out. And a lot of them ended up selling their properties to giant agribusiness because of that very thing. And those big agribusinesses got the $28 billion, not these like little farmers. That's why the Iowa farmers, when you were like, how many got the money? And they're like, 3 of them were like, I kind of got a part of a thing. And everybody else was like, not me.
Based on how they were unfairly treated before me by the Chinese government. They were treated very, very badly. People couldn't believe it. Nobody's going to win with the farmers, but Donald J. Trump, I got him $28 billion.
Jesus Christ. Nobody's going to win, but the farmers don't vote for anybody, but I got them $28 billion, the simoleons.
They were treated very, very badly.
Shit.
People couldn't believe it. Nobody's going to win with the farmers, but Donald J. Trump, I got him $28 billion. I saved ethanol, and I made farmers happy and rich again.
Yes, so I don't know what they're bitching about right now. I got Jesus Christ.
And they're doing a fantastic job.
They're doing so good, even though our country is in decline and it's all going to shit. And
you know what?
What?
Someday it'll become time for them to leave this beautiful earth, and they'll be able to leave their farm without taxes to their children. I got rid of the death tax on farms.
Farmers, you did a great job, but I'm sorry, you gotta die. But when you die, you can give your kids your farm because of exemptions that have existed for decades.
So that when you do pass away.
And I hate to bring it up twice. It's like the nuclear word. You're not supposed to say it, but you're gonna die. And it's probably because you're poor and you live and you work, you do too much activity. You know, you only have so many heartbeats.
On the assumption that you love your children
on the assumption that you love your children. Mm-hmm.
You can leave it to them and they won't have to pay tax. But if you don't love your children so much, and there are some people that don't, and maybe deservedly so.
Jesus Christ. Maybe your kid is a piece of shit. Maybe they just don't like farming like you wanted them to. Maybe they're like, you know, they just want to leave and fuck off to some. Maybe they're just a cokehead. Maybe like you like your daughter a little too much, but your sons, you could kind of take or leave. Like if there were wolves at the door and you're like, we can only get to the car once they've filled their bellies and they're sleeping. Maybe you're looking at two of your sons and you're thinking, well, you could flip a coin because I don't particularly like either of you. You guys just draw straws amongst each other and then let yourselves out. I'll be upstairs with your sister. And you might find yourself... What an asshole. What?
You can leave it to them and they won't have to pay tax. But if you don't love your children so much, and there are some people that don't, and maybe deservedly so, it won't matter.
Because you'll be dead. And who gives a shit? But don't get me started on Eric. Because what the Republican governors did with him is disgusting, and yet, as long as they leave me alone...
Because frankly, you don't have to leave them anything. Thank you very much. Have fun.
Frank, what? What? Frankly, you don't have to leave them anything. You're dead. You can just leave it to me. Just send me your farm. Have fun dying. Have fun filling out your new will, sucker. But you better vote for me. Have fun dying. What the hell?
On the assumption that you love your children, you can leave it to them and they won't have to pay tax. But if you don't love your children so much, and there are some people that don't, and maybe deservedly so, it won't matter. Because frankly,
you'll be dead.
You don't have to leave them anything. Thank you very much. Have fun.
Honest to God, I think he bailed out on that one and they posted it anyways. He was like, have fun. You can't do that one. That was ass. I don't know what I was thinking about. Have fun. What am I fucking thinking? Whatever. They're like, no, boss, it's great. Everything you say is gold. These fucking people love you. All right, post it. Have fun dying and leaving your shitty kids nothing. Jesus Christ. This is Some of you hate your children. I know how you feel. Some of you want to have sex with your children. I also know how you feel. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because you're going to be dead. Have fun dying and being dead. There are people online right now, including the actor dude I got into the dust up with the other day, who's he's full on like he's into the anti-vax and the communism are coming for you, and he's like all in on all the talking points that is basically saying like, you're gonna cry when this guy's president again. And I'm like laughing because you think they're like this illusion that they have that people are wheeling Biden around and having to talk to him like grandpa, and it's ageism and blah blah, and he can't think straight and yada yada. That's definitely the case with this dude. And here comes, this is a new one. This one, China must be held accountable. It's the name of this short little ditty. China must be held accountable. They cost us so much. Thank you. Too much, $6 trillion. And I stopped it, but I wouldn't have stopped it. And then I did stop it. It's mine.
3 years ago, I declared that the China virus almost certainly came from the Wuhan lab.
I declare. 3 years ago, I declared that it came from most certainly came from the Wuhan lab. Yes, after you had finished your first phase of your trade deal, and you were telling us that China had gotten it all right, and then you sold them all of our beef, pork, corn, and soybeans, and then midway through the summer, you're like, wait, they're not signing on the second part of this? Oh, fuck these guys. And what do you mean Zelensky's not going to start a fake investigation for me? I hate everybody.
Now the world is finally admitting the truth, and they're saying I was right.
No, they're not. Because if they did that, they would have to say that you were right, that she was handling it very professionally and you trusted them, and it would go away with the spring, with the sunshine would kill it, and a light bulb up the ass and some bleach down your gullet, and you'll be just fine.
The cover-up of COVID-19's origins is one of the greatest scandals in the history of the world.
Yes, and it happened during your presidency, you sap.
The greatest scandal is COVID itself, however.
So in this case, the crime is, the cover-up is not worse than the crime. Yeah.
Millions of people over the planet have died from the China virus.
Which is just like the flu, if you listen to Jimmy Dore and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's really no big deal. It's just a bunch of people with comorbidities and old people. Who gives a shit? Even, unless you're old and have comorbidities. But
now it's time to hold China and the corrupt forces who have facilitated this colossal suppression of facts accountable.
That's right. You got to hold them accountable. The people who told you that China was doing a very professional job and that they were talking to Xi Jinping and they said they had a great handle on it and that we would have very few cases and it would be gone in the spring with the heat and all that kind of, those people need to go to prison. Shit.
For the damage they have inflicted upon the world and all humanity.
Yes, the world and all humanity. It's kind of hard to, never mind.
We have to do something about it.
Yeah, what would that be?
There has to be some form of retribution.
I see. Retribution. There has to be retribution. Especially against people who told us it would be fine when it wasn't and blew it off for months. You mean that crowd?
And there will be some form of retribution.
Okay, well, good. As long as there's going to be some form of retribution. I know that there has to be, but I was worried that there wouldn't be, but there will be. There's going to be some form of retribution. What do you think? What are you thinking? A worm pestilence? Too late. It's already happened. Lightning strikes? Uncontrollable bowels? That's right. It's a fart pestilence.
China cannot pay for the damage they've caused.
They can't? Oh, well, then I guess there can't be any retribution. If they can't pay, I guess what? We got to break their knees, I suppose, right? We got Jolly. I mean, they can't pay. Well, you got to give me something. Otherwise, I can't go back empty-handed because Charlie's not going to hear of it. I mean, I'm trying to do you a favor, right? Because he told me came over and told me to break your thumbs. I don't want to break your thumbs because you got big nostrils and that's how you pick your nose. And I'm worried about you. So why don't you give me what you got and we'll see what you got. All right. China, he keeps misreading these fucking sentences and inverting what they say.
Some form of retribution. And there will be some form of retribution. China cannot pay for the damage they've caused. It's more than $50 trillion.
All right, so what do they just owe us, or? Oh, thanks so much. Hold on, somebody, this super chat guy right here, I saw that. Why is that hidden behind there? I gotta fix this. I gotta move this over here. Thank you. Because I wasn't able to read that. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, there it is. DC2257. Thank you so much.
And they don't have anything.
Thank you, Stacy.
Even close to that. But something has to be done, and it will.
Oh, and Stacy Thompson says, I'm slightly stunned. He said that about how people feel about their children. I don't know why, knowing how he is. Yeah, it's shocking when it actually happens. When you see him say shit like this in the wild, you're like, nobody talks like that. And you're like, there he is, talking like that. It's weird. It should be shocking. You should be going, who the fuck?
There has to be some form of retribution.
Yes, fire and brimstone coming down from the sky. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave. Yeah.
And there will be some form of retribution. China cannot pay for the damage they've caused. It's more than $50 trillion. And they don't have anything even close to that.
Well, I mean, if we, I don't know, put the whole country in hock, I mean, there's got to be.
But something has to be done.
So, what are you suggesting? We sell their children?
And it will be done.
Okay. Jesus, that's it. There has to be some kind of retribution. There will be some kind of retribution. Obviously, China can't afford the debt, so we're gonna have to do something. I honestly, like, that's like Jeb Bush working as an enforcer for the mob. I'm not gonna say what has to happen, but at some point we're gonna have to get. I don't know. I might. He says, if you don't pay up, we got to break your legs. But but please clap. This is rough. This is so rough. There's so many of these things too. Hold on. Here you go. Look, but they say, folks. Hi, I'm Hal Sparks. Welcome to Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. If you're watching this as a clip, they say that even a broken clock is right twice a day, and that even the most vicious enemies in the world can find common ground on sometimes the small things in life. And maybe this is one of those times. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Donald John Trump saying Trump was right about TikTok. Let's see. So if you don't know, TikTok is malware and it's gross and you shouldn't let your children anywhere near it because it's designed to harm them. Now, I've been saying this for a long time. There's a bunch of right-wingers who say it. There's a bunch of people, a bunch of Democrats who know this as well. It's pretty universally bipartisan at this point, but everybody was giving it the benefit of the doubt for a while and just kind of like shrugging it off as another social media platform. But let's see what he's just going to claim that he was right about it the whole time, and then we'll see.
Has anybody noticed that everyone wants to go after and destroy TikTok?
TikTok. TikTok. Everybody wants to go after and destroy TikTok. Not everybody. I'm for it.
Due to China influence and national security?
Due to China influence and national security. Yes. Is that why? It could also be that it is harmful to the mental health of children and young people.
When I wanted to disable TikTok 3 years ago, I was met with opposition from rhinos, Democrats, and everyone else. They actually went to court in an effort to stop me. Now they realize I was right and have changed their tune.
Changed their tune. By the way, hold on 1 second. Let's look at the TikTok part of this. TikTok, Trump, China. Trump era ban on Twitter dropped by Joe Biden. Yeah, this is the BBC one. Biden using TikTok as a scapegoat, distract from families life in China. This is here it is. This is in August of 2020. So the idea, by the way, that this asshole was like on it from the very beginning is a bunch of bullshit. He started doing this because he was pissed at China. He was like signing on to this. Okay. President Trump on Thursday in August of 2020 invoked his emergency economic powers to impose broad sanctions against TikTok, a move that steps up pressure on the Chinese-owned app to sell its U.S. assets to an American company. In the order, which takes effect in 45 days, and if you don't elect me, I'm going to take it off because fuck you. Any transaction between TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, and U.S. citizens will be outlawed for national security reasons. In practice, experts told NPR the order likely will mean the viral video service could no longer receive advertising from American companies, and the app could be removed from Apple and Google's app stores. For more than 100 million Americans who have downloaded TikTok, experts say the app may no longer be sent software updates, blah, blah, blah. When we talk about sanctions against Russian oligarchs and kleptocrats, well, the sanctions are that no American can do business with them. Same thing as they're talking about this. Okay, in a statement, TikTok says it is shocked by the executive order, claiming Trump administration paid no attention to facts, dictated terms of agreement without going through standard legal processes, and tried to insert itself into negotiations between private businesses. TikTok added the order sets a dangerous precedent for the concept of free expression and open markets. You're a foreign company. The idea is that if you have a satellite U.S. company that that is under the rules of a foreign company or country, not the United States, then this kind of shit can happen to you. In the order, the White House says TikTok captures vast swaths of information. Again, this happened in August of 2020 when he was already pissed at China. This was just him attacking China. Everybody else was like, TikTok's pretty fucking dangerous. And he was like, no, it's fine. I talk to Xi. It's all lovely. And then he starts getting mad at China, and that's where he really goes after
Sadly,
it.
I've been right about everything.
I've been right about everything.
And you know,
except the whole light bulb up your ass and the bleach thing.
you know what? The Democrats know it. The radical left knows it. The communists and the Marxists within our own country know it.
Well, I mean, obviously they can read.
They want to turn our country into a communist country.
Really? How would they go about doing that?
Marxist country.
Which one? Communist or Marxist? Because, I mean, there is a mild difference between the two. Obviously, Marx believed that socialism built on the back of capitalism would lead to a communist structure, but wasn't necessarily all in on that part of it. And he had some choice words about Jews and black people that most people find uncomfortable. So I don't know which form you're expecting to, we'll see.
They want to turn our country into something that we're not going to let them have.
We're all right. Words are sometimes difficult.
Not going to let them do it.
Nope, you're not. Okay, all right. Well, then I guess we won't even try. Guys, pack it up. Yeah, Marxism has been called off. We're not doing socialism and communism. I'm sorry. We were gonna, but you heard him. They can't let it happen, and so it's not going to let it happen. Yeah.
But we were right on so many fronts.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to be right again because we're going to make America great again.
We're going to make America great over and over. Magoo! I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that was gibberish. I agree. Is this another variation on this? Trump's been right about everything. Do you think they sliced off a piece of this one and made this one? It's only 31 seconds. Let's see.
Lately, there's a statement that's been out there all over the place.
Lately, people are saying that Trump was right about everything. It's this hashtag Trump was right about everything. I'm good with the branding.
It's a quote from a lot of people.
It's a quote from a lot of people. Uh-huh.
It said, Trump's been right about everything. And if you think about it...
I have, and that's not even close to true.
I really have.
No, you really haven't. Not at all. Can I provide you with a couple of examples? Let's see. How about, and this will, obviously I can't grab all. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Well, here's one.
We use political hacks to make deals with China. And then we lose almost $500 billion a year with China. And we want to know what's wrong with us.
Well, that's a trade deficit because we buy a lot of cheap shit from there and we upsell it and make money off of it without making it ourselves. So there's obviously going to be a trade deficit because we're not selling it back to them, because if they could afford it, they wouldn't be the place that makes it cheaply. Dum-dum.
What's wrong? What's wrong with us is we have people that don't know what they're doing, making deals with some of the smartest people in the world. They use their smartest, toughest, meanest people.
They use their smartest, toughest, meanest people to do deals.
We use dumb people. We use hacks. I've done a lot of business with China.
Uh-huh.
I think China's great.
Uh-huh.
I've done great. I've made a lot of money with China.
Have you now? Interesting. How so?
I have their bank, the biggest bank in the world from China is my tenant. I sell condos. I have the Bank America building in San Francisco, another big building in Manhattan that I got through China.
Oh, you got that building through China, did you?
I mean, China's great.
Yeah, there you go. China's great.
But I don't hold it against China. I hold it against the stupidity of our leadership to allow China to get away with this.
Yes, why doesn't China turn us into their factory so that they can buy cheap goods from us and upsell them to their people that can't afford it? China, like, literally has as many people below international poverty standards in their country as there are human beings in the United States, including tourists, illegal immigrants, and people who just woke up here after being rendered.
And then on top of it all, to show the lack of respect they have for our country, they go into the South China Sea and they're building one of the great fortresses of the world.
One of the great fortresses of the world. Oh, are they now?
For landing airplanes, for docking their ships.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you basically where you can dock a ship wherever you can land an airplane.
They're military ships.
Oh, military ships. I understand. Okay.
And
because you can't build a big military fortress if you're letting fishing boats park there, obviously.
Yet they're making a fortune with us. They take our money. They take our jobs. Think of this. They take our money. Mm-hmm. They take our jobs. And we owe them $1.6 trillion. It's like, how does that happen?
Because they buy bonds. Because our money is safer than theirs. Like, hold on. Let me go one even further than that, if I might. COVID. This is good. This one. Let's see.
I spoke with President Xi. We had a great talk. He's working very hard, I have to say. He's working very, very hard. Mm-hmm. And if you can count on the reports coming out of China, that spread has gone down quite a bit. The infection seems to have come down over the last 2 days.
Oh, by the way, this is from the Chinese state media, by the way. This is them playing clips of him on Chinese state media.
Trump on Wednesday put his second-in-command, Mike Pence, in charge of the response to the looming global health crisis. He told people in the U.S. that the risk from the coronavirus remains, quote, very low. His comments come as public...
Yes, that turned out to be, what was the phrase? Wrong. Trump was right about everything.
It's my honor to do it, but we have to do something about it. We have to save our country. Thank you very much.
That's it. Just people are saying I was right about everything, and I totally was, and it's my honor to do it, and I was right about all this stuff, and it was great. And hold on one second. Let's see. I was right about everything. I want everything. Trump still wants negative interest rates, but says Fed chair has improved. You know how oil, they would at one point during the crash of COVID, that people wanted, that you'd have to pay people to take the oil off your hands. That's what he wanted with the US dollar, because he knew he was driving the debt up really high. So he wanted to drive down the worth of that debt, basically make it so that no one else in the world with any brains would invest in the United States. So your bonds internationally would be worth shit. We would just have to buy our own for nothing and finance our own debt through just purchases and repurchases of bonds that were ultimately worth nothing, that you owe money for taking money out. Like, it's so fucking stupid. But he wanted that. There it is. Lady Trump still won. President Trump on Wednesday said he still strongly believes the Federal Reserve should have negative interest rates, but gave a modicum of approval to Fed Chair Powell, who said earlier in the day the central bank would not lower rates beyond zero. Trump said Powell, whom he frequently criticizes, has improved in his performance as the Fed's head, but he still disagrees with Powell when it comes to lending rate set by the central bank. I feel strongly we should have negative rates. The chairman, he's my MIP over the last few months. He's done a very good job. Most improved player. What he thinks. MIP. Yes, he was handing out participation trophies. I was right about everything. Thank you. Also, send money. Click the little thing. Because it's really all these videos are about that. They're about send money to this shit. Again. Okay. God damn. It's just okay. So there's only 3 more left. We can get through them. They're only a minute long. No, there's 2 more. We did this one already. So there's 2 more. Here we go. We must support the innocent Jan 6 prisoners. Well, that's easy. There aren't any. I mean, they're presumed innocent, but they fucking aren't. because they filmed themselves.
Patriotic Americans are being prosecuted for peacefully protesting a
Nope.
stolen election.
Nope. No. Nobody who was at home going, this was ripped off. Anywhere, none of them had a problem. It was that threshold of the Capitol part. It was even, they're not even going after people who stayed largely on the steps, even though they beat up cops to get there.
Let them go.
Let my maggots go. When maggots were in Pelosi land. Let my maggots go.
They were convicted or are awaiting trial based on a giant lie.
No, they were convicted because of their actions.
A radical left con job.
A radical left con job.
Thank you to Tucker Carlson and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy for what you both have done.
Yes, what you both have done, which is set all of us up for a real disappointment once again.
New video footage is irrefutable.
I refuted it. Did a damn good job, if I do say so myself.
Absolutely irrefutable.
Oh, not partially irrefutable? Is there midfutable?
Thank you very much. We have to fight for our country, and we have to fight like we've never fought before.
Well, I would steer clear of that kind of language, because the last time you talked like that, a bunch of assholes ended up in jail, and they're going to fucking stay there.
Our country is great, but it's in tremendous trouble. We're a nation in decline. We have
we've already seen that video. You can't just jump right into
to
it.
stop being called a nation in decline.
We have to stop being, well then, here's, I think all of the, it all starts at home. So why don't you stop calling the country a nation in decline, and everybody else will follow? What do you think? I mean, obviously, what the shit? Listen to this again.
To Tucker Carlson and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy for what you both have done. New video footage is irrefutable. Absolutely irrefutable. Thank you very much. We have to fight for our country, and we have to fight like we've never fought before. Our country is great, but it's in tremendous trouble.
Some people might say it's in decline.
We're a nation,
but we have to stop it.
In decline.
Oh, okay. There you go again. I think I found the guys. I think I found out who the asshole is who keeps saying it, so we can. I guess we're gonna have to fight like we've never fought before to stop this asshole saying that we're a nation in decline.
We have to stop being called a nation in decline.
Jesus Christ. I'm not. This isn't. Back this up.
To Tucker Carlson and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy for what you both have done.
Listen to this in a run. This is weird. This is like, why would you post a brain fart like this?
New video footage is irrefutable. Absolutely irrefutable. Thank you very much. We have to fight for our country, and we have to fight like we've never fought before. Our country is great, but it's in tremendous trouble. We're a nation in decline. We have to stop being called a nation in decline. They're laughing at us all over the world. We're not going to let that happen any longer. Thank you.
First of all, okay, he's been making a bunch of these, so he's just doing part of the earlier video in this part. That's why he said that part again. Like, he recorded that video and he's just riffing at this point. Secondly, I think the thank you was meant to Tucker Carlson and Kevin McCarthy, but it sounded like the thank you where he's supposed to end and then he just kept rolling with it. Yeah. And then
being called a nation in decline. They're laughing at us all over the world.
And by us, I mean you. I don't mean me. I mean, when I say we are being laughed at, I don't mean me are being laughed at. You am being laughed at. You and Eric, largely.
We're not going to let that happen any longer.
How are you going to stop it? What does that even mean? Junior does this shit all the time, too. We've got to stop it. We've got to stop it. Okay, how? If they're laughing at us, then they're just going to keep going until, I suppose, you become president, and that's the idea that they'll stop laughing. I think they're laughing at us because people still think you statistically have a shot, and that's fucking embarrassing. All right, last one. Minute 21 seconds. I think we can make it, and then I got to take a break. I got to get some food and my kid and myself, and we got to do this. And it's Friday night in America. Agenda 47. This is the one that he uses Agenda 47. By the way, this is going to be his way of pushing it back against people who say that he faked this campaign just to raise money off of people when he bows out because he's sick. But here we go. The importance of this is Biden has been a disaster for the economy. Here we go. Ooh, this, and most. By the way, sorry. The Agenda 47
Joe Biden
ones,
has been a disaster.
Sorry. The Agenda 47 ones have a pretty snazzy graphic. The rest of them are just little truths that he puts out.
Disaster for the economy.
Uh-huh.
Between his massive tax hikes, his anti-energy crusade, and his
He does know about the Willow Project, doesn't he? He doesn't, does he?
trillions of dollars in wasteful spending.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, person who literally is responsible for a third of the national debts as well?
Biden caused the highest inflation in almost half a century.
COVID did, but I mean, what's the difference? COVID, disease has been around for a long time. Biden's been around for a long time. They're both old. Sure.
As a result, interest rates soared to crushing levels.
They by them. Oh, I see. Because the Fed had to do this to compensate, and so the Fed shouldn't have done this. The Fed should have left interest rates low. So if you were president and inflation had gone up because of COVID, your response would have been to keep inflation, the Fed low by how? Because you can't order the Fed around. By yelling?
And now we are seeing bank failures that nobody believed even possible just 2 years ago.
Actually, during COVID 2 years ago, I think a lot of people thought bank failures were possible. Businesses were failing. Why wouldn't regional banks?
Joe Biden is leading us toward a Great Depression. I've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's. I wish it would get here already because you have at a certain point you're saying it for such a long time. It's like we're halfway through his fucking first term, and I was hoping it would be here sooner because you're starting to sound like an asshole. I don't know.
There should be no bailouts, but we need to get this economy straightened out as fast as possible.
Okay, and how do you do that? No bailouts. Okay, done. Check. That's what's happening.
We're headed down a very dangerous path.
Yes, we are. We're headed towards what's the dangerous path? Not backfilling depositors or by doing it? Which one? What's a bailout and what's not a bailout? I mean, you know more than the accountants, so except of course the ones that are going to jail in your stead.
When I'm back in the White House, I will immediately unleash energy production / regulations like I did just 3 years ago.
You mean the ones that caused the banking crisis we're in right now?
And repeal Biden's tax hikes to get inflation down as fast as possible.
All right. If you believe inflation is caused by too much money in circulation, a tax cut would result in more money being in circulation. That's money that is not taken in by the federal government, that is back in the consumer's hands, and therefore they would spend it on stuff which would add to inflation. Now, the inflation we're experiencing is not caused by, it's not monetary inflation, it's not caused by an influx of cash in the market, but you'd see where I'm going.
And it will go quickly so that interest rates can get back under control. I built the greatest economy in the history of the world.
No.
In fact, I did it twice when you think about it.
No, you didn't.
And now we will have to do it again. Thank you very much.
Well, if it was the greatest economy, how come it didn't last? I'm beginning to think that there's something wrong with, how do I put this, your fundamentals. I'm beginning to think that the foundation of your wealth and your worth is mostly puffery, mythology, bullshit, if you will. I'm starting to think that everything you create collapses in short order because it's just a facade. And you create these facades because it's what you've been doing your whole life. And you surround yourself with people who like a big glitzy facade and don't really care to kick the tires because they're afraid of finding out something they don't want to know. And you built a functional structure in New York and other places, bullshit towns where you can get away with that stuff on the backs of other people and by lying to banks or getting artificial support from people who expect you to be a chaos agent or to, shit a hole in their genuine competition. Investors who might be into real estate and other stuff, but that the Russians or the Chinese or other people don't want to compete with on the international stage. So they make sure you get a building that this person might be vying for that's profitable. And you're not going to make anywhere near the profit that this building is expected to make because you're a shithead. But those people might have, and they might have taken that profit and become even more of a competitor against our, the other, storied foreign interests and corporations. And so they would rather you have it than somebody capable. So they've helped you out over the years. And at that point, they have a little bit of a snare on you, a little bit of a tug. They got the hook in your cheek, and they can make you dance if they want to. So I'm looking back. I'm just going to say that if you built the greatest economy, it could withstand the minor shifts we've been through in terms of a shuffle of supply chain and bird flu. One would think. If you build, wouldn't the greatest economy in the world be able to withstand Russia attacking Ukraine? Now it has, but not because you built it that way, because it's structurally that sound and that big. Yeah. And that's it. That's the end. Whew. We made it through them. That felt almost as heavy as one of the fucking rallies getting through it. Even though they were little snippets, they were all just a lot of tension. And I didn't even get to how upset Mike Lindell was. It's 3 minutes. Can we do it real quick? We can. Mike Lindell's mad because Business Insider used a shitty picture of him when they talked about how fucked up his business model is. You want to see? Hold on. This might be loud.
I want you to look at the article, put Mike Lindell News and pull up Business Insider.
All right. Yeah. By the way, the article is about how Mike Pillow, had to borrow $10 million to keep My Pillow afloat while funding this motherfucker. So
I'm going to flip my phone to another internet here too while you're at it.
All right.
I want to show the horrible picture that Cheryl used on me. It's just
terrible.
Disgusting.
It is a disgusting picture. I mean, at some point it's not the photographer, it's the subject
kind
picture.
Of journalist, where's your thank you so much, Cheryl. I mean
this is the picture they used?
Huh? He looks like that a lot. Can I just say for the record, that picture captures who Mike Pillow is. As somebody who has watched all of his stupid movies, who sat through his whole stupid Cyberama, who's watched more of him than anybody but the people who think the sun shines out of his ass, which are particularly deluded, and I don't think they actually see anything that's in front of them. I would say for the record that if I had to draw a picture of him, in a witness situation with a sketch artist, I would go, yeah, he's always kind of looking like a look on his face, but like mad and confused, if you know what I mean. Yeah, his brow was more furrowed. And his mustache, yeah, it's like the sharp angle's important to him, and nobody can figure out why. And he's always got a vein going up the side of his head. Yeah, that's pretty close. There he is.
Yeah, that's the picture Cheryl used. Well, she's done. I'm not even going to let her. This is just disgusting, Cheryl.
Hey, Mike, if you come on my show, I won't use a shitty picture like that at all. I'll use one of the ones that you use in your pillow ads. I promise. And I won't make fun of it. Think he bought it?
Cheryl, what kind of journalist are you? I thought, you couldn't use any other picture, but they caught.
I love that he's getting vain about
whatever I was doing that day.
It won't matter, dude. You're being sued for $2 billion. It doesn't matter.
What's her headline? Read what her headline says.
Mike Lindell says he had to borrow $10 million last year to keep My Pillow afloat, and he's running out of cash too.
All right. Do you think that's true? That he actually says that, and his problem with it is that he didn't say that. And Cheryl, this evil witch who used this awful picture, is taking what he said and twisting it. Sorry.
He just switched his internet, so we'll recover. So that's the Business Insider, Cheryl. That's her
Yes, Cheryl, Business Insider. That's her maiden
headline
name.
today, and then the picture
Yeah, Insider was her husband's name. She took his name, hyphen it.
she used for Mike. We'll reconnect here with Mike pretty quick. But there you
Mhm.
go.
There you go. That's a picture of Mike. As many of you, by the way, when he comes back on, don't be shocked if he looks exactly like that.
Wow. MyPillow CEO Lindell told Insider he had to borrow $10 million in 2022 to keep MyPillow afloat.
Yes, because Brannon House has expensive tastes in clothes.
Lindell said he'd also sold a building for $2 million, borrowed a further $2 million for himself.
It wasn't, you don't borrow $10 million to keep. Okay, am I back on?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah, you're back on. You're good. And again, like I said, if I were you, I would use the other picture.
Yep.
Okay. Let me tell you what a float means. Yeah, we've spent millions of dollars on MyPillow on these lawsuits, but also there was another.
There he is. There it is. There's the face. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, he can't not do the face.
Other things that happened when you had ships that were trapped.
In a Marxist state of mind. Thanks, JD.
Remember all the ships that were out at sea, Brandon?
Yes.
Well, like these.
What, the ships that were out at sea? What ships are we talking about? Do tell. Ships at sea, were there ships? Why would that matter in an American company that makes American things for America?
Sheets, these percale sheets and Giza sheets, we lost a whole season because you couldn't get these ships in.
These ships from where? I mean, I understand that, Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes or whatever, but I would think a boat would be sufficient, not a ship.
Okay, we don't make these in the United States. And why?
The kidney. Excuse me? Next thing, I'll find out that Trump ties aren't made in the United States. This is depressing.
Like these sheets, these percale sheets and Giza sheets, we lost a whole season because you couldn't get these ships in. Okay, we don't make these in the United States. And why? Because there's no weavers or spinners left. So
there are no weavers or spinners left. I beg to differ. In the United States.
So we make our sheets. We go over we have the best cotton in the world, the long staple cotton for the Giza dream sheets. And so these come from India.
Uh-huh. They come from India, do they? So you buy them in bulk and they're shipped over, and then you put a tag on them that says what?
The percale. So all these ships now, which the price of containers went up to like $20-some thousand.
Yes. Everyone who outsources production outside of America had to deal with that, asshole. But I mean, this is fucking great. So the mythology that this is America company is just out the window at this point. He's just so mad he doesn't care anymore.
Everybody in business knows that this big plan to put everybody out of business, but everybody.
Wait, sorry. The big plan to put everybody out of business. Yeah, it only worked on people who had outsourced production to countries outside the United States. I think it slowed down in some areas here, but production, once it ramped up, once we opened up, then obviously you didn't have to worry about a backlog of shipping at all because they're here. Also, secondly, Mexico, obviously more expensive than getting, weavers and spinners in India, I would imagine, but closer to home and ultimately a safer bet when you're talking about a supply chain. But fuck Mexico, right? Is that what it is?
You had inventory trapped out at sea, so you lost your season to sell these. So you end up with piles of inventory.
Yeah, it's all Christmas sheets. God damn it. All we've got are piles of really green and really red sheets. Nobody wants these.
And
No, yes, Giza's in Egypt. Does he mean Egyptian sheets? Yes, it's Egyptian cotton that they're very fancy about. He likes to travel over to Israel and then fly down to buy cotton from Egypt and pat himself on the back for fancy Giza cotton. He brags about it. But the idea is, if you watch his ads, they make it look like he buys the cotton there and brings it back to the United States where it's made in the United States, which we now obviously know is horseshit.
You have to pay for the inventory because they give you 60 days, 90 days, whatever your deal is, and then you have but when the ships were out there, they would.
So people weren't buying this stuff. Oh man, it just you start thinking that maybe from a business standpoint, if he would just listen to himself speak, he would know exactly what his fucking problem is and why the big box stores dropped him. He's talking about the season when he was dropped by the big box stores because his shit wasn't selling. Who the hell is he talking about? Who's buying his plain white sheets or any of the sheets that he has for sale on a seasonal basis? Like they have fucking Christmas ruffle or like I don't understand. All right. Maybe he believes there's a sheet buying season.
When it comes due, they don't care. You got to pay for that, Brandon. So what do you have to do? Well, then you go it's called inventory loans. So you got inventory loans that you have to get because
people aren't buying your shit and it's taking up shelf space in the big stores, and other stuff is moving, but your stuff isn't because people think you're a dick.
Time in history, all these ships are trapped out there now.
So why are you paying inventory space for material that hasn't even arrived at the store yet?
Did it also cost us a lot of money that would have went to the employees? Absolutely.
Yes. And if you'd have stepped down as CEO and handed it over to somebody else to run the company and run around the country doing your bullshit, big lie nonsense, none of them would have been harmed by any of this. My Pillow would still exist and somebody else would be the face of it right now. You could run normal fucking commercials without putting your stupid face all over everything, and it wouldn't cost your employees a fucking dime. But since you're an egomaniac and ultimately as big an asshole as you are gullible, you let this happen to them. Note to CEOs, if you're going to engage in controversial, awful bullshit that might alienate half of your customer base, maybe take some paid time off from your own company, let somebody else run it for a while, and hire a fucking puppet to be the spokesperson. It wouldn't change shit. If there was I swear to God, if he got somebody like a sound-alike with a Mike Pillow puppet, with a mustache and all that stuff, doing the ads instead of himself, he wouldn't have lost any of those sales. He still would have deserved it because he'd still be full of shit, but he wouldn't have. But he had to put himself in the middle of it. He had to be both things. You know why? Because he chose the maggots as his primary audience. He knew if he sucked up to Trump, they would all buy his shit because Trump doesn't sell sheets right now. And they would buy My Pillow and that kind of stuff because it would be a way of showing fealty to Donald Trump. That's why he did it. He made this fucking bed and he's laying
all
in it
the
now.
money that could have been distributed, and My Pillow being an employee-owned company, instead has to go to lawyers in frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah, that is your fault. You're in your employee-owned company, which is horseshit, by the way. They can buy stake in it. It's get the fuck out of here. He's acting like it's a co-op, like Bernie Sanders would tour the fucking place and clap. Get the hell out of here. The reason the company is being sued is because he refused to remove himself from it. He made company profits off of the lies he was telling about Dominion.
Because their CEO is out there trying to help save our country to get rid of these electronic voting machines.
As a representative of the company, using promo codes on every network that will have him on there, specifically for shows like Steve Bannon's, creating a network, selling the stuff at the same time, refusing to separate his product from his personality.
It's disgusting.
Yes, it is disgusting. You're an asshole. That's terrible. It's a shame. And if I was your employees and I was an employee owner of this, and I recommend this, his employees in general should sue Mike Lindell to get him to step down because he's damaging the company. Give him a fucking ridiculous golden parachute that can be his stipend or whatever the shit. Let him walk with $50 million or buy him out or whatever, but the employees will take over the company and file with Dominion and say, hey, we didn't have a say in this. There's your guy. It's the only thing that will save MyPillow. And it will be the only thing that saves the jobs of all those people. And if this asshole had a stitch of honor, no pun intended, he would do it himself, but he won't.
And then a journalist like Cheryl has to put that nice picture. Cheryl.
And his fucking ego. See, that's exactly it. What's his complaint? I'm an asshole. She made me look like one. She let people know I'm an asshole. He's worried about what pictures on. Dude, you are being sued for $2 billion and your employees are going to be out of work. They're going to lose their fucking job. Because you had to do this.
No, now you can write another article. Mike Lindell was upset about this picture. Write what you want. At least you did write in there that I'm trying to get rid of the electronic voting machine.
I have to say, I feel bad sometimes when I come up with a good plan for bad people. Because I have an exercise I've told you guys about, and I got to run, but I want to, because I'm way over tonight, but it's fun. It's been nice hanging out with you, and I'll see you guys on the radio tomorrow for House Parks radio program, Megaworldwide. If I may, I have an exercise that's sort of a play on the lyric writing system of Maynard from Tool. And what Maynard from Tool will do when he's writing a song is he will write lyrics about the worst person in the world, like a terrible person. He'll just write the most evil, egotistical, maniacal, violent characteristics. He'll write it about them in the second person, in the third person rather, and then he will change the pronouns from you to I. He'll then sing the lyrics from his point of view as that person. Because if he wrote it in the first person from that, he might protect himself from the worst characteristics of himself, because we all try to buffer our vision of ourselves from other people. But it's a trick that allows you to do it, right? It's really smart. And so when people like Trump or MyPillow and Mike Pillow and all these folks start doing shit, I have an exercise where I look at them and I went, if I do an inverse of that because it's a game and I know they're an external person. I go, if I was them, how could I make this worse? What would I do if I was truly evil in this situation? What would be, what things could I trigger? What things could I do from a maniacal standpoint for control, just to be evil in that situation? What would be the worst I could do? And how would I go about doing it is more important. It's not the what so much as the methodology. So that I can back up and be myself again in this and look at it from that perspective and go, there are three routes out of this. If they're doing what I think they're going to do, there's a couple of reasons why they might be doing it over these options, which I believe they have. Whether they've thought of them or not, or whether they instantly editorially exclude these possibilities is unknown to me. But they either did because they're not capable, or they excluded these options because they think the cost is too high, the return on investment is too low. So that's how sometimes you guys watch me and I can spot where they're going ahead of time, or why I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when it comes to some of these people doing awful shit, because I know there's way worse shit they could be doing. Because I've sat there in their position and gone, all right, if I really wanted to fuck shit up, what would I do? How would I take this even further, right? And I think it's a good exercise. And it helps you, I took debate classes when I was in high school. It's related to that a little bit. Try to understand their argument better than they have their argument. That always helps. It's one of the ways I started watching all these videos, and that's how we became this show in some ways, where I break it down, because I watch these guys to see where these talking points come from and where they are going, and whether or not they have any root in any reality, or if they've taken the root of that reality and grown a bastardized tree from it, which happens more often than not. So, and it's why I can understand when we're talking about some of these things where people will rush down a lane on our side of the aisle, get caught up in something, and then have to reverse course. And I really get to avoid that because I know what the setup looks like. So anyways, it's an important thing, and it's why I want you guys, that's why I tell you guys to tap the brakes on your reaction to something. It's why you devil's advocate is good for democracy. That's right. It's like chess. Yep. Go is a better game. It depends on what your goal is, because chess is a better game than checkers, unless you're playing with a kid and trying to have a nice day. You know what I mean? So thanks, Diagram. I try. And by the way, thank you, chat room. You guys are awesome. Let me go back to this, a better window. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I got to take off. I went way long today. I love you. And I will see you guys in the morning. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. But remember, it's worth it to just run it as an exercise. Well, Will Smith doesn't cuss in his records. Fuck him and fuck you too. I see. All right. I certainly don't have that problem. But try that out sometimes. Go, all right, if he was really evil, what would he do? Because you'll find that a lot of them are far more stupid than evil. And a lot of times we're giving them way more credit than they deserve. And don't forget, the greatest weapon against anybody who bases their worth in the world on their image is mockery. Because if you get angry with them, you are playing into their hand. But if you make fun of them, they fall apart. Super important. Okay, bye.